Morning, Roxanne. Thank you as always for my brooms, and I see the number of brooms is growing. Very nice. Arlene Lewis, morning, Arlene. Carol Boyce, morning. Rukmin Gangadine, blessed morning to you as well. Gerald Pascal Manswell, morning, sir. Christopher Serret, morning. Neil Francois, always present, morning, sir. Cyril Mayas, morning. Charm Rich, morning to all of you guys. Listen, yeah, Marva James, morning, Mama. Jacqueline Phillips, morning, Jacqueline. Morning, Dion. Freddie Williams, morning. Sarah Richards, morning to you. Gemma Alexander, morning, Joy. Phyllis Farrell, morning. Jefferson Clark, morning. Natalie F, morning to you. Will Durant, morning, Will. Rosemary Hadley, morning, Rosemary. Annette Baird, morning to you. Neat. So I guess the other guys will join in. Morning, Estra. Where's Carol? Carol Myers. Let me say good morning in advance to Carol. I know yesterday was the funeral of her cousin, PC Myers, who was unfortunately killed in that incident in the bar last week. So we say good morning to her and again condolences to the entire family. Yes, Roxanne, I did. I did take an extra 5 minutes. Well, yeah, I did. My alarm went off and then I said I taken getting up just now and then that was that. Patricia Comena, morning, Judy Bowen, morning, Judy. Alison Boyce, morning to you. Shireen Jack. Gertrude, morning. Open this thing up here. Morning, Claire. So I guess the other guys will jump in. So let me jump into it because it's already 6:41 in the AM on this the 21st day of May already 2024. Dexter James, morning. So well, I think if we wanted any proof that that other party and their, if I dare say, fully done supporters do like nothing good for this country under the PNM, I think this whole matter surrounding this cricket academy is more than sufficient evidence. And I say they don't want anything good for the country so long as it is coming from current administration. In fact, we can expect over the course of the next year or so as we head into general election 2025, anything that this administration announces that the right-thinking citizen would deduce or consider to be good news, it will be bad news for them because they are seriously hoping that nothing good will happen between now and then that could give the government any sort of, fillip going into the 2025 election. You recall in 2020, they said the PNM was on track to lose and lose big, and then COVID happened. And it was the government's handling of COVID that gave them a lifeline. That's what they say. And so they're hoping that something similar would not happen in 2025 so that that other party to get back into office and do what exactly? What exactly? You know what's unfortunate? There's a lot of people who like to comment. When you go on Facebook, I mean, last night they had me going by it. They had me busy, dizzy, one after the next. I had to be responding to with respect to the asinine logic concerning this cricket academy. You would think that these so-called citizens would be happy that we have a wealthy benefactor, the richest man in Asia, the ninth richest man in the world, is willing to come to Trinidad and Tobago and spend his money. That's right, his money. All the government has to provide is the land. He is coming to spend his money to build a cricket academy here. A cricket academy that will benefit not just the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago in terms of the availability of a facility to groom new cricketers, to hone the latent talents of young aspiring cricketers. You know, those young men and women who look up to the likes of Kieran Pollard and Dwayne Bravo, Darren Bravo, Sunil Narain, Nicholas Puran, all of these different guys. You say, wow, I wish I could be like them one day. Guys who have talent and looking for an opportunity to break into the IPL series, but it's difficult for them to do so. But here it is that we have not just the richest man in Asia coming to do this. He happens to own one of the leading teams in the IPL, the Mumbai Indians. So, of course, there's benefit to Mr. Ambani. I don't think he plans on wrapping up the Mumbai Indians anytime soon. But as I said a couple of days ago, he understands that a lot of the players now on the Mumbai Indians team are heading towards the twilight years of their careers, and therefore you need new, fresh, younger, talented players to recruit. We're recruiting them. So why not hone their skills? Basically, you're creating like a cricket factory. So instead of these young folks thinking, but what I could do when I finish school, right? I could go and study. You could look at cricket. Quickest way to get rich these days seems to be in T20 cricket. If you have talent and you're able to get recruited, you're good to go. We all know that. There are plenty of money. And we're seeing new franchises starting up all over the world. So it's no longer just India, the IPL and the CPL. You have things developing in Australia, United Arab Emirates, and all of these different places because they see the value in franchise cricket, T20 cricket. But I am amazed when I read the amount, every post that come up about this cricket academy, and I go through it, and all the wise people talking about we already have a cricket academy and why we need a next one. And if you open this academy, the Brian Lara Stadium, the Brian Lara Cricket Academy will be abandoned. And all of that. First of all, let me bring some clarity to it. We do not have a cricket academy at this time. To call the Brian Lara Stadium a cricket academy is a misnomer. Yes, there is a sign outside that says the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, but it is not a cricket academy. For those of us who would have read, who are inclined to read, and who know or who understand what the Cricket Academy was supposed to be based on the Vision 2020 document, is that all we have right now is one component of the academy, which is the Brian Lara Cricket Stadium. We would recall that in the motivation or the rationale for creating this Cricket Academy was again to do the same thing that this proposed academy, that is to come in Trin City, was intended to do, which was to nurture cricketing talent in the first instance, because back then T20 cricket was nothing yet. So it was to nurture talent for the West Indies team for the longer version of the game, which is Test cricket, so that we can have a pool of Trinidadians with the capacity, the ability, and the wherewithal to play for the West Indies. It would have also provided an opportunity for, just as this proposed cricket academy, sport tourism. Because this academy would be second to none in not just the region, but the hemisphere. So it's quite likely that we will have not only persons from around the Caribbean region, CARICOM, young people coming here to participate in the activities of this academy, but as far as North America, and when we talk North America, we're talking Canada, we're talking the United States. Mr. Ambani is not a foolish man. He is looking for ways and opportunities to expand his business into the North American market, more than what he currently does. And he sees that cricket is developing in the United States, which is why you have matches taking place, World Cup matches taking place in the US. We have warm-up matches. The only two countries that will be hosting warm-up matches is Trinidad and Tobago, well, Trinidad and USA. So obviously, if you have, and what they're seeking to do based on what the Prime Minister said, is to build an academy, a replica of what they have in India. So right now, the designs are being drawn up, and once it meets with government's approval, then the process can begin to take it to the next level, which is to begin construction. All of a sudden, all of these bleeding hearts, so concerned about the national, well, it's not the national instrument yet, not officially, but it's so concerned that was supposed to be for Panch and Bego, and why it is that the national instrument has to play second fiddle to this Indian businessman who want to come here and set up a cricket academy. Well, the government had discussions with Panch and Bego. They gave them an alternative facility in Port of Spain, which is, I believe, the old, I think it's a custom building or something. So opposite opposite the Hyatt, that old eyesore, that in that whole waterfront area there, that is one of the eyesores. That building has been shut down for a while. The only other thing that's spoiling that scenery there is the building next to it and the nondescript police station that they have, or police unit that they have inside there, that really needs some cleaning up. But you enter into Port of Spain and you see this beautiful skyline. You come in there and after you pass the port, well, where the ferries are, and you come in and you see Bryson Road, the Hyatt, government campus, and so on, and then you pass and there's this building at the corner there. So the government is offering that, or has offered that to Panch and Bego, and they have accepted it, right? These same people were making a big fuss the other day. Oh, Panch and Bego going and they're renting from some government minister and putting money in the government minister pocket. And since Panch and Bego receives money from the state via subventions every year, that is basically the government putting money into the minister pocket and all kind of back. Now they are giving Panch and Bego this facility, which I imagine they would not have to pay for. So it works in their favor. So the money that they would have been spending on rent, they could now put that into PAN in a more meaningful way. And we know under the current leadership of Beverly Ramsey Moore, who is very forward thinking with respect to promoting PAN. And in particular, involving young people in it and seeing what she can do. Because just last year, she indicated that Panch and Bego had intended to start raising funds to complete the headquarters up in Trin City. Right? So now it's just for them to refurbish or renovate this building that they have gotten and see what they could do with it. It blows my mind why Chidis would be opposed. And let me take that back. It doesn't blow my mind. I know. Those who are opposed is because they're opposed to the government. Because if Kamala Persad-Bissessar had decided to take a trip to India, even in her capacity as opposition leader, and she had met with Mr. Ambani, and this had come about, the same people who complaining now would have been applauding that. You would have heard, well, she's not even prime minister and she do what Rowley couldn't do. Look at that, she went in there and all the money Rowley's spending taxpayers' money and going here, there, and everywhere, and we ain't getting no value for it. But look, Kamala spent she money and she went in there and she met with Mr. Ambani, and the man wants to come now and build a cricket academy. And if it is the government had taken issue with that to say, well, look, she's not the prime minister, she's not the government, and she's not in a position to make such decisions, you would have heard them. The same people who oppose to the academy now, I want to tell you why it don't make sense, because we already have a cricket academy and why we need two and all of that nonsense. The same people who talking that would have been singing a different tune. That is why she must come back as prime minister, because look at the things that she could do, and she's not even the prime minister, and Rowley can't do that. That's what we would have been hearing, these hypocrites. We would have been hearing that from them. They would have been singing her praises. Couldn't stop. Ralph Maraj would have write a whole article to talk about, that is leadership. That is leadership. Look what she has been able to do. But Dr. Rowley goes, and it's no good. They find every reason in the book why it doesn't make sense. So as I said before, we do not now have a cricket academy. We have a stadium. The original intention for the cricket academy was, aside from the stadium, we were also supposed to have a live-in facility for the young cricketers and the coaching staff. Right? That was just another element. So the potential cricketers or the recruits for the academy would have been living on the facility. They would have stayed there. They would have done their schooling there. Yes, so they would have had classrooms and so on. So they wouldn't just be playing cricket all day. They would have been learning as well, doing the subjects there. That was part of the intention. You know, like just like the police training academy, you go in for 6 months, you're inside there, you get a chance to come out 1 or 2 weekends, but basically you're living in there for 6 months and you're doing all of your training inside there. It's the same concept that Mr. Manning had for the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. In addition to that, they were supposed to have swimming pool, I believe a cycling center as well. The same things that the UNC built in Couva, but built it separate and apart, because remember they vilified the Brian Lara Stadium for the entire time that they were in office. Yeah? Rather than finish the stadium, they left it there for 5 years as a monument of shame to PNM wastage. We want all to see how PNM waste all your money, cost overrun, that this thing was supposed to, that started off at 257 million and it ended up costing over $1 billion, and we leaving it there for all to see an eyesore. And that made sense to them. After all that money was spent, it made sense to them to just leave it there, unoccupied, unused, making no money, in fact, probably costing taxpayers money. Right? So every time you drive down on that side and you see it, you must say, watch how the PNM does waste money. But in the last 3 months before they left office, they decided, well, here we go in and finish the stadium. Why? Because we only just dawned on us. Hey, we have another opportunity to thief. We have another opportunity to thief. And how is it that we didn't see this in the last 5 years? Why all I didn't see it? Because you all were utilizing all the other opportunities to thief. And so you were blindsided. And suddenly you said, but wait, well, we could finish that. Just as for 5 years, they did absolutely nothing with the government campus. Absolutely nothing. All those buildings that are today occupied by government offices, whether it be the Ministry of Education, again, saving you, the taxpayers, millions of dollars in rent, whether it be the Customs, BIR, the Office of the Attorney General, the Registry, all of these entities were renting for 5 years under Kamala as Prime Minister, while, again, government campus was just there staring you in the face. All these beautiful tall buildings, empty. The only thing it had inside there was a echo. Nothing else, just there. And then in the last couple of months before they decided to leave office, it suddenly dawned on them, maybe we should outfit the buildings and use it. And they tell them, well, it will cost about $1 billion plus to be able to outfit all of these buildings. Because it suddenly dawned on them, hey, but all this time for the last 5 years, we had another opportunity to thief. Give out exorbitant contracts and feather our nests. Probably their finances and say, but all them buildings, all they could finish them thing and we could thief our money, eat our food. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, let me make it happen. And at the same time, they'll try and mama guy the population to say, look what they're doing. All of these things that were started under the Manning administration. But these same blasted hypocrites who supported that party want to come and tell you about, Rowley and them wicked and vindictive, because look at all the schools that the People's Partnership built, and they leave the schools abandoned, and they abandon the schools and whatnot, and they're so wicked. But like all you forget, they abandoned the waterfront. They abandoned government campus, right? They abandoned the Brian Lara Stadium. These in-your-face, huge projects. Let us not forget that Mr. Manning also built 3 secondary schools. QREP, what was then QREP? It was called, I think, St. Joseph Secondary. Moncton, 5 Rivers. Right? Those 3 schools as well, which the People's Partnership never touched. They were almost complete when the PNM demitted office in 2010. Today, what should have been St. Joseph Secondary is now a shell. A shell. And you all recall, while they were in office, and according to Kamala, they had the highest revenues, in the energy revenues in the country's history. They had all this money and could do so many things with it. But for the sake of air conditioning, they left that school empty and open, just like they did the other two. And I will never forget when Tim Gopi Singh gave the feature address at the opening of some other school and made the statement, the comment, Manning didn't build school, he built hotels. When you see the size of these schools, it's hotels Manning built. He didn't build school. Gopi Singh said that. And they left all of these hotels untouched. They didn't finish it. But the bleeding heart supporters want to come and tell you, Rowley wicked and all of these schools, and look how much school and the school are open, and it's just because the UNC built it. No, it's because when this administration came in 2015, they met a debt owing to contractors. EFCL was owing contractors over, how much was it, boy? $3 billion was Anil like to say, according to Kamala last night. I could only look at 5 minutes. Billions to the supporters who listening here, right? Who listening, and all love Anil Soba. I know you have to say billion. Yes. When this administration came in 2015, despite having the highest energy revenues in the country's history, according to your leader, despite having taken the exchequer account from $10 billion in overdraft to 33 billion, and we're still trying to figure out what our money is spent on. So you had all this energy revenues, right? Billions and billions in energy revenues, but you still took the exchequer account 23 billion in overdraft, 33 billion over, the highest it had ever been. And we don't know what our money is spent on, right? But contractors were owed over $3 billion for schools by EFCL. And when this administration came in, and according to Jawala, he turned off the tap, only enough money to run the country for 3 days, right? Oil prices in the doldrums. And this government scrambling for revenue to pay public servants, to make sure public servants' money in their account by the 23rd or the 24th, having to go cap in hand to the energy companies begging here, what now? Give you a little advance on the taxes for the quota now. We know the quota is close to an end and they're going to pay this probably in October or so. But we need the money now because we need to pay the public servants. We don't have the money to pay the public servants because the central bank governor said all the money that was approved by the parliament has been used up. And the only thing I have left is the dregs for 3 days. It's not sufficient for us to pay salaries and pay old age pension and all of these different things. And these things are paid early at the end of the financial year. So we need a little something help you out now. Only to be laughed at by the energy company. Say, call my madness, but we know you're now coming in, so you probably don't know. So let us bring you up to speed. We were given generous concessions by your predecessors, such that we don't have to pay you no taxes until 2027. Right? So I don't know what tax you're talking about. We have no tax to pay you. So if you didn't get a memo, go back in your office and ask for it. That is what Mr. Mbud had to face, and therefore had to go to the banks to borrow money to pay public servants. The same public servants who complaining, but they only give you 4% and 4%. Right? That's the extent to which Mr. Mbud had to go to in order to make sure that your salaries were in the bank, so you could pay your rent, you could buy food, you could send your children to school, and you had to complain, hey, look, they now come in, and watch out what public servants had to go through. All these things that was taking place behind the scenes. So last night when I listened to the misleader, the opposition talking rubbish about the public sector debt and how much this administration drove up the public sector debt by and all of these different things and how much interest being paid on these loans. She needs to tell us how many of these loans are being, for which interest are being paid, loans that her administration took. Because you see up to today, the Exchequer account still hasn't recovered. It is in permanent overdraft unless it is by some magic or by the grace of God, we happen to end up finding oil, more oil, new oil in significant quantities, the like of Guyana. That Exchequer account is going to be in permanent overdraft, right? Because we have to clear off that extra 23 billion that they add on. Haven't been able to do that yet. So for the last 9 years, we're paying interest on that. But she couldn't talk about that last night. No, ain't touching that with a 100-foot pole. But coming to talk about the public sector debt and she going back on the nonsense about Stuart Young brother and NCB Global and NCB and Angus Young, and he's the managing director of that company, how much interest they make in, and when this government came into office, NCB got a pot of gold, all kind of rubbish. As if our government never borrowed. Every major infrastructural project that they undertook, even except for the Point Fortin Highway, where they took $7 billion from the Treasury so that they could thief. No oversight from any lending agency, so they could thief as much as they want and they don't have to account to anybody. Unheard of. That one project, $7 billion taken from the Treasury. But the supporters wasn't telling us then all the other things that that money could have done. How much road it could have paved and how much schools it could have built. Right? Instead, if they hadn't taken that $7 billion from the Treasury, maybe that they could have used 3 out of that to finish the schools. That extra $3 billion might have been available to this administration to finish the schools when they came in. Instead of them having to leave it undone because the contractors refused to do any more work until they get paid. Monies that was owed to them. Until they get that, they ain't doing any more work. But apparently Dr. Rowley, when he became Prime Minister, he inherited a magic wand, right? That you just spin around twice, wave it, say some magic words, and money up the Treasury. Apparently, we missed that one. So as I said, I couldn't listen to all of the diatribe. I couldn't. The rubbish, I couldn't. You know, she there sweating like any lemon. Let me go down that road. Let me go down that road. So they all up in the field about Cricket Academy. So I was making the point here. We do not have a cricket academy, but like the fully dons don't understand that. Because they keep saying we have a cricket academy. We do not. We have a stadium, which was one element in the academy. The stadium was done first because, as you all may recall, in 2007, there was to have been a Cricket World Cup, right? And the Brian Lara Stadium was supposed to have been one of the venues. Hence the reason the stadium was done first. But we know that it did not meet with the standards, the ICC standards, and therefore it was not used. And we know what happens after that. The issue with the cost overruns and so on, with the quality of the sand and all of that. They say that the stadium was sinking and whatnot and all this stuff. But yeah. And then the PNM lost the election in 2010. Now, had they won the election in 2010, it is safe to say the academy would have been completed, because that was part of Mr. Manning's Vision 2020, which wasn't just a PNM document, because you had input contributions from a number of persons who were not PNM, including people like Botiwari and others who were not PNM, but who at the time understood what patriotism was until they threw in their lot with the UNC, and then that was the end of that. So, for the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days they were in office, all who know, understand, and who think, and who concerned about the Brian Lara Stadium, and if we have this academy, that the stadium will just be left there and it will be unused and so on. Why weren't you all advocating between 2010 to 2015 for the People's Partnership to finish it? Why didn't advocate when they were boasting about how much money they had? Where was the advocacy to finish it? Where was it? Money wasn't concerned. You all were happy to just have it there rusting and wasting away. So you can say, what you see? Manning, look, Manning, look, wastage. Manning spent so much money on that, and look, it's just there, it's not being used. They're complaining now that today the Brian Lara Stadium is being used for FET and so on. It's making money. Because every time a FET promoter decides they want to use the stadium to host a FET, guess what? They had to pay money for it. How much money did the Brian Lara Stadium make between 2010 to 2015? How much money it made? Between 2010 to 2015, not 1 cent. But since this administration came in and decided to finish it, it's making money. How many matches, cricket matches, have been held? And the same people, hypocrites on that side, who complaining now, anybody and who are happy to see it remain as a monument to PNM shame, unfinished, crumbling. Whenever you have a cricket match there, see them, the cars line up on the highway. They're the first to buy tickets. First in line. They're happy to get inside there. Set a double tongue. Waste of time. Right? Waste of time. But they're so concerned about what happened to but all they didn't want it. Because for the 5 years that your party was there, you all did not advocate for its completion. You were happy for it to remain in the way that it was, for it to collapse, just like the church in Guanapo that always say Mr. Manning thief money, thief taxpayers' money to build church for Juliana Pena. Right? And what happened? They come into office and they allow the church, the building, well, it wasn't finished. They allow it to collapse. They allow the pipers and so on to go and vandalize and take what they want. But all they say is taxpayers' money was used to build that. So you weren't interested in preserving taxpayers' money? You weren't interested in that? And so, well, okay, we could finish it and use it as something else. But after it was proven that Mr. Manning and the Integrity Commission did the investigation and Mr. Manning was absolved, and they realized, well, okay, this goes no further. Let's leave it there now. Let it fall to ruin. And they were prepared to have the Brian Lara Stadium end up in a similar situation. And all these bleeding hearts who today concerned about the Brian Lara Stadium were hypocrites. You all had no care for it then, but all of a sudden now all you have care because we have a new facility that is promised to be a state-of-the-art facility that the government doesn't have to inject a cent in. So it constitutes foreign direct investment because the Ambani family will be paying for it. And the Ambani family more than likely will be maintaining it, which means that there are constant flow of money and it is doing well. Who knows? There would be cause for Mr. Ambani to maybe visit from time to time. And you're concerned that what? That if he comes to Trinidad, it would create opportunities and open doors for the government to court him to make other types of investments that could benefit the country. That it could pique his interest. And let me see what else Trinidad and Tobago has that I might be interested in investing in. Is that your concern? So you want to keep Mr. Ambani far away from Trinidad as possible, at least until your government comes back into office. You see, as I said, this is sandals all over again, right? With sandals, this, sandals, that. We're concerned about the ecology. We're concerned about the environment. We want transparency. We want probity. We want to know what concessions the government given to sandals. And we want to know all of that. We want to see the MOU. And we want to scrutinize the MOU. And all kind of reasons. Until Mr. Butch Stewart, who has never encountered such opposition to something that could benefit our country in any of the other territories where sandals exists. I say what? Well, you're too blasted political in this country. I come in to build my facility. Well, not him. Because as I told you, well, contrary to what was put out in the public domain by the liars on that other side, supported by the media, the bacchanalist media in this country, where they claim that the government was going to spend $8 billion, taxpayers' dollars, to build the Sandals Hotel and the Sandals Resort, and all that was going to happen is that Sandals was going to put their brand and manage it. But you see, they because they don't like to listen to Dr. Rowley's press conferences, they would have missed the press conference, where Dr. Rowley would have indicated, based on questions posed to him by members of the media, who still, if I were to try to research and find an article which speaks to that, I can't find it. You know why? Because they didn't see the need to report on that. Because then it would be there for posterity. Where Dr. Rowley, I will never forget that press conference, where Dr. Rowley, the question was posed to him with respect to the cost and how much money the government would have to put out to build the hotel and so on. And Dr. Rowley made it clear that the government had invited the private sector to partner with them to fund the construction of the resort. And he indicated, he started off by giving a few names of companies, private sector entities that had expressed interest in investing in the resort. He said, based on the letters, the invitations that had been sent out, he said Ansa McCall had declined to participate. However, Guardian Group, which is the parent company for Guardian Life, Guardian General, Guardian Asset Management, they had indicated an interest in investing a significant sum into the project because they owned the Sandals Beaches resort in Turks and Caicos. And so they were interested in investing in another one. He spoke about NIB, and he called a few other private sector companies that have also expressed interest in investing in the project. because they know what the sandal brand brings and what it could do. So based on, and then he went on to say, so that based on the interest that they've had so far, it was quite possible that the construction of the entire resort would have been funded entirely by the private sector. The private sector who has a role to play in diversifying the economy. But if it is that you listen again to the fully dance, you will get the impression that that is the sole responsibility of the government. So here it is that we are facing the possibility, well, not the possibility, I mean, it's more or less a done deal. Once the ink dries, the designs are approved. Well, okay, let me not say that it is a done deal, because we thought sandals was a done deal too. They were the MOU stage. But at every turn, you had people opposing it for all manner of foolish reasons. And when finally Mr. Gordon Butchert said, you know what, I don't need this. There are plenty of other Caribbean countries where I could go and open, where I have sandals already and I could open a second one. There are other Caribbean countries that don't have sandals yet and I could go and open there. And I'm certain I'm not going to face the level of foolish opposition and pushback that I'm getting in Trinidad and Tobago. So you know what, Ole, it was nice. Dr. Oli, I apologize. You know, I thought we had something good going here, but clearly the citizens of your country, they know better. So I gone. And when that happened, the same bleeding hearts who had a problem with the project comes, well, we didn't want sandals to go, you know. But it's just that we just wanted to get information on the MOU, and we wanted to know what concessions the government was given, and we just wanted to know, but we didn't want them to go. We didn't mean for them to go. We should have had one today. Just look at the territories where Sandals has operations, and you will see Sandals does their own marketing to bring tourist traffic to these countries. Because in order for their resorts to make money, the people have to come. Sandals going and negotiating with airlines to come to these territories. They're doing the negotiations. The government will come and talk to the government and tell them, well, look, we're talking to this airline, that airline, so we could improve the number of flights coming in from different areas, different territories, bringing more people to our resorts. But while they're here, obviously they're not going to stay in the resort because they will do their research about the country and they will see certain things that they may wish to visit. So we don't expect them, if they come for a week, to spend all 7 days just sit down by the pool or staying in their room. No, they will take the opportunity. We will work with the locals to see what we could do. We would work with the transportation, the local transportation persons, to see how we could organize tours and so on. We will work with the local tour guides to offer tours so that when the guests come to the hotel, we will let them know, well, look, because remember, they didn't pay their money already. They pay the money up front. So whether they stay in the resort or they go out, it matters not to us. We already got our money. So they could do what they want when they come here. They don't sign anything that says that they must remain on the resort grounds. But we could work with the locals, the local tour guides and whatnot. They say, well, okay, we will create brochures and stuff so that when our guests come in, we can leave this in the room so they could see what the island has to offer. So if they're interested, they know what to do. We could set up tours and so on, let them know, well, on this day we have a tour, so if you're interested, come. We don't have that. But we want to talk about Barbados and how well Barbados doing through tourism and how well this country doing through tourism. Yeah, because they have what we don't. They have a Sandals that is marketing their country. Sandals taking out ads on cable TV and some of the premier television stations in the United States. So they're in the face of these potential tourists. They're running ads in the UK and all of the different markets where they want to court people from. They're spending their money to do that. So the government of Barbados, aside, separate and apart from what they're doing and all the other countries where Sandals is, they're supporting the government in marketing their country so that the tourists could come. If it is just so, no. But we don't have that assistance from Sandals, so we have to do it on our own. So we have in Tobago, we have Fali, and we have Tashia. Flying all over the world, so they're promoting and they're selling Tobago and they're marketing Tobago. But nobody from the other party asking about value for money. Every time Fali hop on a plane, who paying for it? Fali paying for it? Or is your taxpayer dollars paying for it? But you are asking Fali Munilal not interested to file a Freedom of Information request to find out how much money it costed in Fali spending with respect to travel, how much money the THE has spent in travel in the last 2.5 years. He ain't interested in that. You're only interested in Rowley travel and Stuart Young travel, right? But what benefit has Tobago gotten from all of Fali's travels and Tashia travels and Trevor travels? Did they delve to find out whether or not, in fact, Trevor paid for that private jet out of his own money? Or if the THA somehow ended up paying for it? But that matter there, we ain't care about that. We're not interested in that. That's Tobago. And we depending on them 2 Tobago seats to get back into office so Tobago could do what the hell they want. They could spend money how they want. We're not interested. Our focus is only on Rowley and the PNM. So we will allow Fali and the THA to get away with murder. And these are the people who telling you they're so concerned about taxpayers' money. Put them back in office so that they could better manage the economy and manage your finances than Keith Rowley and this wicked and evil PNM. But allowing expenditure in Tobago to go unchecked. They're not interested in what is happening in Tobago. And of course, if they form an alliance with Fali and his team and they happen to get the 2 seats and they get into office, well, hey, even better for Fali. He wanted autonomy, he want whatever it is, he won't get it. They'll tell him, you draft the document, whatever you want inside there, we'll build and show that we pass it in the parliament. So you could do what you want. So now he decided he want to set up a Tobago's own police force to fight crime on the island. Because the TTP isn't doing a good enough job. And he figured he could create a police force that could do better. Right? So he wants to create, because under the 5th schedule, the THA has no responsibility for national security. So he wants to create his own police force in Tobago. So which means you had to get money to hire people. So you had to pay salary, you had to buy uniforms, you have to buy equipment, you have to pay for a facility which they would operate out of, you have to purchase vehicles and all of that. I want to ask Fali, under what line item can I find in the budget, would I be able to find that item? Or is it that you plan to introduce it in the budget that you're going to read next month? After which we will hear who is the new Secretary for Finance, because it's a big secret. You do a cabinet, you are not cabinet, so you do a THA executive reshuffle. You move one man, you demote one man, promote one man. Right? That's all you do. So you do a reshuffle, telling us that you have relinquished the position of Secretary for Finance, and there'll be a new Secretary of Finance. And the media asking you, so who is the person? Well, you're going to find out next month after the Tobago budget is ready. But I can tell you that the person is Tobagonian because the law requires that they must be Tobagonian and the person is. What's his big secret? What's his secret? That's not a little boy games. But anyway, Fali found at that time. Coming back to this cricketing academy that is to be constructed. Unless, of course, Mr. Ambani ends up like Mr. Gordon Butch to pursue that, given the amount of pushback. You know what's unfortunate about this? And again, a lot of the people who yapping and who have their opinion and telling you about we don't need another cricket academy. And again, I stress we do not have a cricket academy. We have a Brian Lara Stadium. Dr. Rowley last year, September, at a meeting with some cricketers, indicated that the time had come for the academy aspect of that facility to take shape. He mentioned that. The article is there. I mean, I could pull it up and read it for you. Right? Let me see if I still have it here, because I had to share it with a number of the fully dones last night on Facebook. Let's see if I get it here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to read the whole thing, just a little piece, in case some of you might have missed that. Right. 16th of September 2023. Lara Cricket Academy to be operationalized. PM Rowley. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley announced that discussions have started to have the Brian Lara Cricket Academy fully operationalized as an academy. On Tuesday, photos were circulated on social media showing Dr. Rowley meeting with former West Indies Limited Overs and T20 captain Kieran Pollard and former WIPA president Dinanath Ramnarayan in what appeared to be a cricket conversation. However, during a post-cabinet press conference at the Diplomatic Center, the Prime Minister, who is the current chairman of CARICOM Cricket Committee, when questioned about the topic of discussion between the trio, said that not much cricket was spoken. He said that he met with a couple of cricketers as a sidebar. Completed in 2017, the Brian Lara Cricket Academy was supposed to have been completed in 2007 and should have been used as a warm-up venue for the 2007 ICC Cricket World Cup when the West Indies played hosted cricket showpiece event. TNT hosted group matches involving India at the Queen's Park Oval. And when former Prime Minister Patrick Manning held talks with Brian Lara to discuss a way forward for the new facility, the secondary purpose of the venue was to serve as an academy that would nurture the growth of future cricketers to follow in the footsteps of the player in which the academy is named. Secondary purpose. Understand that? So we had the stadium, secondary part is yet unfinished. So let me continue. However, according to the Prime Minister, it is time to put the academy in the name. The Brian Lara Stadium, and the quoting Dr. Rowley here, the Brian Lara Stadium there was meant to be an academy, Dr. Rowley told the post-cabinet media briefing. It has been used as a cricketing ground hosting matches which have been quite successful. But the concept of the academy has never been operationalized. Let me repeat that. The concept of the academy has never been operationalized. Dr. Rowley said the need for the academy had become greater over the years, and he said the cricketing world is now a major sporting business, creating huge opportunities for individuals and nations. The academy aspect has never been operationalized. But yet still, I saw last night, the one calling himself a professor, Fall Street, or whatever it is, did a recording, posted on his Facebook page, giving you 10 reasons why this new cricket academy don't make sense and why it is unnecessary. And we already have a cricket academy, a state-of-the-art cricket academy. This man who has lived outside for over 40 years has never paid 1 cent of tax to Trinidad and Tobago in any form, fashion, or manner, want to come to dictate to this administration to tell them what to do and that this cricketing academy don't make sense. Now, if this academy is completed, then there is no need for the government to take taxpayers' money to complete the secondary phase of the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. Leave it as a stadium, develop that facility. You could probably add 1 or 2 other little things to improve that, concession stands and so on, to make it, because I saw, I think it's St. Vincent, Happy, they're posting up their cricket stadium, preparing for matches and so on, and they call it the most beautiful cricketing grounds in the world. And they're doing work. So you can add 1 or 2 other things there, but if we are being gifted with this facility, state-of-the-art, world-class, with things that, and this administration doesn't have to take taxpayers' money to spend, then why we vex? Why are we not supporting that? The money that all they always like to complain. They could have used that money to pave road. They could have used that money to give the public servants more a higher rate of pay increase. They could have used that money for hospital to buy bed in the hospital. They could use that money to buy medication. They could have used that money to finish all the schools that they left abandoned. They're always quick to tell you everything else that the government could have spent the money on. But you all should be happy now. We have an opportunity to have a state-of-the-art, world-class, second-to-none facility in the region, in the hemisphere perhaps, at the expense of somebody else. No taxpayers' money. All you have to put up is the land. And we're talking 30 acres. You know how much is 30 acres? You know what could be built on 30 acres? Right now, when you're coming down the highway and you look across, all you're seeing is bush. And then the ISO. That edifice that has been there for how much donkey years. Just there gathering moss. And every now and then you will see they come and cut the grass and they make the place look clean and then the grass grow again. We've been looking at it, what, almost 2 decades? That's all you like to see? You're driving on the highway and it's only, just look for miles. It's just bush. Bush. Look at the type of development that is taking place along that stretch. I think there's a new facility going up there being constructed. I heard is a massive warehouse or something. I don't know what it is. But to the left-hand side, just after you pass that same facility that we're talking about there, and you will see a building is going up there on the left-hand side. Down in the back by Blue Waters, where you go down in the back and see the development taking place there. Right opposite, you have, on the right-hand side, Eastgate Mall that just opened. The premier mall in the east now. So hopefully we can see some work being done on the Twin City Mall to restore it to its former glory days. But you're seeing buildings taking, construction taking place on the lands that are owned by HCL or whatever it is there. Several new buildings going up. So in the next couple of years or so, you will be seeing a totally different, when you're driving up on the side on both sides. What's the problem with that? I would think that at least the people in the East will be happy. But they're not considering the money that coming through foreign direct investment, all the jobs that will be created during the construction phase, the maintenance phase, the fact that coaches will be becoming world-class coaches, because I'm certain Mr. Ambani is not going to put his name on anything that is going to end up in a failure. So he has a vested interest in ensuring that this cricket academy is a success. But at least what it does, it places the spotlight of the largest company in India and probably even in Asia. It places the focus of the richest man in Asia and the 9th richest man in the world, at least for a moment, on Trinidad and Tobago. But I want to play something for you. So I saw a clip last night of, so the campaigning for the UNC internal election has started. And Mr. Rushton Parry and his team are going around doing cottage meetings and so on. So last night I saw a video with him basically talking to mostly empty chairs, right? Which I'm not surprised about. But in listening to, in that short clip, listening to Mr. Parry, I realized that he possesses all of the characteristics and traits required to be a future leader of the United National Congress. And one of the main traits is that you must possess the ability to be a damn blasted liar, right? And I must say I'm very disappointed in Mr. Parry. Very, very disappointed. I always say he was one of the few members of the opposition bench who I felt in the earlies, he offered something different. So whenever they were debating a bill or whatever it is, when you listen to his contribution, it wasn't politically tainted, meaning it wasn't to attack the government and attack the government. He would do his research and he would come and he would speak with sense. He would present facts, right? It's not about politics and politics. It was two people. It was him and at one point in time, Lakram Bodo. The two of them. And to some extent, at one time, Fazal Karim, until they became tainted by the party and them. But he has been a very big disappointment. And I want to play something for you. So he decided to take a job at the Cricket Academy too. So, look at this. Come on. So let me just fix this. Right. Just give me 1 second. Let me just connect this. Right. Let me get this.
My question to Dr. Raul: if you were going to meet Mr. Mukesh Ambani, who is the head of the Reliance Group, a $140 billion group out of India, I would have asked Mr. Ambani to come to Trinidad and Tobago and invest in our telecommunication sector, because they are good at that. I would have asked Mr. Ambani to help us improve our digital infrastructure so we can provide modern telecommunications and health, safety and security, because the Reliance Group is good at that. I would have asked Mr. Ambani to help us find new technology, invest in our North Coast deep sea exploration for oil and gas sector, because Mr. Ambani is good at that. That is what a visionary leader does when you spend taxpayers' money to fly halfway across the world, only to find out the man didn't have no invitation. The Indian embassy in New Delhi was scrambling to beg people, hey, well, look at this man, boy, my prime minister. He went in there with no plan. No plan, none at all. Because Mr. Ambani didn't see it. He saw some fellas in the lower end of the total bowl. But that is the issue. We have full leadership of the PNM, and we have to change that. But the change has to start in our own home. If we don't strengthen our own home as the only political vehicle that can take us to government, we will end up in opposition in 2025. And I am not prepared for that. If we don't strengthen the organs of our party, strengthen the systems and processes in our party, we will not see government. And if we allow Dr. Keith Rowley and the PNM to win an election in 2025, it will be the first time in 40 years that the PNM has won 3 consecutive elections.
So you heard what he said there. Dr. Rowley went in there with no plan. He had no invitation. It was the Trinidad and Tobago High Commission in India that had to scramble to beg the Indian officials, well, they had nobody to see this man, everything was going on, that he didn't see Mr. Ambani and so on. So he did his research, apparently, into what the Reliance Group does, because he talk about what Mr. Ambani is good at and all that. But as I said, that little clip there, just the first part, where he spoke about Dr. Rowley's trip to India, speaks to the fact and is clear evidence that Rushton Parry, as I said earlier, has what it takes to be the leader of the UNC. The main trait is the ability to be a damn blasted liar. Right? Now, if he had taken the time to do his research instead of mouthing off like his current political leader and talking trash, as I always say, if you're going to lie, make sure the truth is well hidden. But like they don't get that, they don't understand that. Right? All he has to do is to go on Dr. Rowley's Facebook page. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, that's all he has to do. Go on Dr. Rowley's Facebook page, just type in Dr. Keith Rowley, and he will see the photos there. The second set of photos, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley and his delegation toured the Jayo Convention Center and the Reliance Corporate Park in Mumbai today, Friday, 17th May 2024. Chairman of Reliance Jayo Limited and owner of the Indian Premier League cricket team, the Mumbai Indians, Mr. Akash Ambani, also hosted Dr. Rowley and his delegation to lunch. So Mr. Ambani would have been part of the delegation to, who is the heir apparent. Akash is the heir apparent to the Ambani dynasty. Mukesh is the father. He is currently the chairman of the Reliance Industries Group. But he has 3 children, 2 boys, 1 girl. Akash and his sister are twins, right? So they're both 32 years old. And the last boy, he's 29 years old. So he's the one who had the pre-wedding ceremony a couple months ago, where they had all these big mega stars performing, and they said Rihanna performed and she got $8 million and so on and the like. Apparently, that has been the trend whenever any of Mr. Ambani's children are getting married. They spend, I think the daughter, what was reported, he spent $100 million on his daughter's wedding and the like. You know, so he spends money on his children. That is his focus. But when you read the bios of all 3 children, Akash, the one who met with Dr. Rowley, who took Dr. Rowley to lunch, the one who would have been on the tour of the facilities with him, he is the heir apparent because he right now holds, other than his father, he holds significant positions of leadership in the Reliance Group. So he's chairman of the Jayo facility. He is in charge of everything to do with telecommunications and AI and all of these different things, right? So technically, even though he and his sister are the same age, being twins, when you read her bio, she is a director on the board but she is not as active in the company as is her brother, Akash, who met Dr. Rowley. Akash, who is the owner of the Mumbai Indians, right? But you just heard there, Mr. Pare tell you, Dr. Rowley went to India, he had no plan. And when he got to India, the Indian High Commissioner, well, the Trinidad and Tobago Indian High Commissioner had to scramble to call around and say, well, I'm a prime minister here, well, you can meet with him, please. So he had to use diplomatic channels to find people to meet Dr. Rowley. You would get the impression that Dr. Rowley was there for weeks, right? Yeah, so you could just pick up the phone today and just call the governor of, I forget what's the name of the territory, and tell him, well, my prime minister is here, could you arrange to meet him? And could you put an itinerary in place for the prime minister? He says that Dr. Rowley didn't meet with Mr. Ambani, Mukesh, and instead he met with a set of persons lower down the totem pole. So the man, Dr. Rowley, met with the man who is going to replace Mukesh Ambani whenever he mercifully expires. So when Mr. Ambani has gone to the great beyond, based on what currently exists, it is very likely that the person who will take over from him is Akash Ambani, the son of Mr. Ambani, who Dr. Rowley met with, the future of the Reliance Group, the man who will be making decisions as to where the Reliance Group will be investing in the future. So Dr. Rowley now has a relationship with the future of the Ambani Group, the Reliance Industries Limited, right? Because I imagine at this stage, Mr. Ambani, Mukesh probably looking to wind down and stuff. You know, yes, he's still active in the company, but you're preparing to hand over the company to the next generation, right? Akash is at the top of the totem pole. So you have Mukesh, and right after Mukesh is Akash. But you can probably even say Akash probably sitting at the right hand of Mr. Ambani, the father, Mukesh. But according to Rushton, Dr. Rowley met with persons lower down the totem pole. He didn't meet with Mr. Ambani. So apparently Akash is Mrs. or Miss Ambani. Yeah. So that doesn't augur well for the future of Trinidad and Tobago. The younger Ambani, who is 32 years old. Now, in addition to that, to me, based on what Dr. Rowley told us, how this whole visit came about, Mr. Pare would have insulted Kieran Pollard indirectly and Dinanath Ramnarai. Remember those two names I mentioned to you in the article I read there just now, where Dr. Rowley would have spoken to these two guys sidebar at that event? And he singled them out. In his press conference on Sunday, he made mention, and he said he wants to pay special mention, to make a special mention of Kieran Pollard and Dinanath Ramnarai. That these two young Trinidadians who went abroad and didn't just go abroad to say, we are going to eat our food and drink our juice, make our money, and come back home and like myself. Dr. Rowley said that they, being in India, saw the opportunities, saw what India has, and saw the opportunities for Trinidad and Tobago. Because Kieran Pollard, I think, is the batting coach or something for the Mumbai Indians. And so he would have been instrumental. Akash is 32 years old. Kieran Pollard is, I think, in his mid-30s or so. So they basically kind of in the same age group, so they could relate. So it's not a case of Pollard having to deal with Mukesh, who is probably in his late 50s or 60s, as the case may be. He is dealing with Akash, the future of Reliance, right? Because as I said, they're in basically the same age group, so we could talk the same language. And clearly, the fact that Mr. Pollard and Mr. Ramnarai were able to be instrumental in arranging this visit tells you that clearly there was a plan. Clearly, there was a plan, because Dr. Rowley just landed in India, and then they decided, hey, organize a visit there. This would have been pre-planned. Discussions, as we now understand, with respect to the Cricket Academy has been ongoing for months. It didn't just happen overnight. This didn't come about as a result of Dr. Rowley's recent visit last week to India. This has been in the works for a while. And these two young cricketers are doing what they could to improve Trinidad. So they're saying, look at, we have this cricket facility here in India. And look at the great work that it is doing in nurturing the skills and talents of these young cricketers. Why we can't have something like that in Trinidad? We need something like this in Trinidad. They saw that. Went to Mr. Ambani, Akash, right? Probably the boy, and they meet the bunks and thing, and probably on a first name basis and so on, I'm sure, because Kieran Pollard and his wife were invited to Mr. Ambani's brother's pre-wedding ceremony. They were among the few cricketers who were so invited to that event, right? We saw pictures of them in India. I think Nicholas Puran was there as well. I didn't see too many other cricketers. So clearly, they have the heir of Akash, who is the heir apparent to the Ambani throne. So he could talk, tell him, well, here, what now? Well, you know, Cricket Academy and whatnot. As I said, I'm sure he has Akash's cell number in his phone, so he can probably pick it up and call him and discuss things. I want to sit down with you and have a little chat, but, you know, about the investment opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago, beside cricket, and looking at what it is your group does and all the things you are involved in. You are the future decision maker of your father's company, right? And technically, it's your company too, because Akash have companies that he run in that he would have created as part of the Reliance Industries group that is his, that he could make decisions to invest in Trinidad, right? But what Mr. Pollard and Mr. Ramnarine have done is now gotten the focus or the attention of this wealthy family in India, now in Trinidad and Tobago. They had so many other cricketers. They could have put that facility in Guyana, everybody running to Guyana. They could have put it in Barbados. They could have put it in any other Caribbean country, but they decided to come here, thanks to the efforts of these two gentlemen. So for Mr. Parry to make the statement that Dr. Rowley went to India with no plan, and that he met with low-level functionaries, how do you think that makes Akash Ambani feel? To know that a Trinidadian politician, a man who is aspiring to be possibly a future Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, will dismiss Akash Ambani as being some low-level functionary at the bottom of the totem pole. You think about that for a minute. That's like saying the Vice President of the United States, she's at the lower end of the totem pole. She's not important. So if Dr. Rowley goes to Washington and he meets with the Vice President of the US, she's not important. If you don't meet with Biden, well, then it don't matter. That's what you're saying, you know? Idiot. Clown. So he too, Mr. Parry, has shown his propensity to be fully dunce. And that's why wherever it is he get come the 15th, he look for that. He look for that. At least you can be honest. But you're trying to put down the Prime Minister. But if it is your political leader had done that, she spent $15 million to go to India in 2012. What did we get from that? How did we benefit? You could show me any building, even a piece, a rock, a stone, something, a plaque, something that we got as a result of that $15 million visit. I am absolutely certain Keith Rowley didn't cost Keith Rowley $15 million to go to India. She carried a whole delegation of businessmen to India. They come back with anything? What foreign direct investment did we get from India for that 15 million taxpayers' dollars that was spent? But these hypocrites, like, they forget that. Tell us, what did we get? Other than photographs of Mr. Sabi Sasa bending down to touch up his photo, whatever as the case may be. Other than video footage of Mrs. Pasabi Sasa riding on the back of a truck waving. Look, my hair, I come to look for my roots. I come to see where my ancestors, my great, where they used to live and where they came from, where my roots originated. That's what I'm here for. It's about me and about Greg and Vidwati. It's about us finding our roots. Couldn't care less about Trinidad and Tobago and how they benefit. They will complain and gripe, but you know it's a 9-day wonder, so forget about it. How did we benefit? So Dr. Rowley was invited, as he said. He is not one to go where he is not wanted or where he is not invited. Hence the reason with all the griping and complaining they make him up, oh, he don't go to no temple in Trinidad and he wouldn't go to the Diwali Nagar and he doesn't go to any of the NCIC events and so on, but he go in India, dress up in kurta and go into a temple. You know the difference is because he was invited. He goes where he feels welcome. How many of your pundits have invited him to their temples? The NCIC and all that, how many of them have invited him? When it is he went to the Diwali Nagar in 2012, or thereabouts, 2013, 2012, 2013, thereabouts, right? To give a speech. And all the government ministers who tell people, don't go. Make sure when Rowley go, you only talking to empty chairs. And if all they want to, they could boo him too. And when he went, what it is Mrs. Prasad Bisasa told her supporters and the attendees, beware of those who come to you in the clothes of your ancestors to fool you. That's what she told them. The Prime Minister, this great diplomat, told her supporters, with respect to Dr. Rowley coming dressed in Indian way, to give an address on the invitation of the NCIC. What she told them, beware of persons coming to you wearing the clothing of your ancestors. the traditional way of your ancestors to fool you. But Dr. Rowley must go and subject himself to that, right? Go to these temples where he knows he's not wanted. So when you're reading somebody comments from the supporters, you hear them, a cobra should have bite him mother so and so. Yeah? And then others laughing, you want the cobra to dead, you want the cobra to dead from blood poisoning, and all this set of foolishness. That the plane should have crashed, he should have crashed into the Himalayas when he was going there. All kind of things, wishing death on the Prime Minister, the worst of things. But he must go to places where these people frequent. Yeah, all these religious people are going and pouring milk and offering flowers and lighting there and all kind of things. They're so holy and religious. Yeah, all of these things, offering up whatever offerings to your gods and so on. But then coming on social media and talking things like that a cobra should have bite the Prime Minister and kill him, or the plane should have crashed into the Himalayas, or all kind of foolishness. She should have go by the Ganges, falling and drowned. All of that they say. Yeah, but then all they want to dress up in garb and see you go in temple. Bunch of blasted hypocrites. Hypocrites, yes, I call them all like that. Nobody like it, that's all your business, because that's exactly what you all are. Hypocrites. So I don't blame the Prime Minister at all. If he's not invited, don't go. When the Muslims invite him to their mosque, he goes. So we see he's not adverse, contrary to what all they like to spread this foolishness about, oh, he don't like East Indian people and he racial. But the same people who talking that trash, complaining about he has too many East Indians in his cabinet, and he giving all of the high-profile ministries to the East Indians and the Africans and them getting the crumbs. That's what you're all saying. When it is all you want to link him to AV drilling, oh, his best friend is Nizam Bash. Yeah? An East Indian man. They love to say that, oh, talk about he was winding up on a young East Indian girl for carnival in South. So there's 1 minute he don't like East Indian, and when it's convenient, and the next minute when it's convenient, he like East Indians. Pick a struggle. You can't be half pregnant. It's either he's racial or he's not. It's either he don't like East Indians or he likes them. But it can't be that he likes them when it's convenient to you all, and he doesn't like them when it's convenient to all. Make up all your mind. But all you're so confused and fully dunce. You think Dr. Rowley doesn't know what he's up against? That you would have citizens of this country. I wouldn't even call all their citizens. I wouldn't call you all that. Because when it is that you could be opposed to something that could benefit the country, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well. And you would be prepared and fully prepared to run foreign direct investment that we're always complaining we don't get enough of under this administration. But you want to create a ruckus. I listened last night to the clown, Enal Roberts, right? That bald-headed degenerate. A couple days ago, he did a live complaining about, the talk is that Dr. Rowley want to sell the refinery to Reliance Industries, to the Ambani family, and what was the procurement measure that was used for that, and so on. And all that foolishness. And then when Dr. Rowley had his press conference and he spoke about it, he indicated, well, no, that the refinery may have been mentioned, but it wasn't really spoken about, and so on. You come now to do a live to say that, oh, Dr. Rowley was rejected, that he went to India to try and sell the refinery to Ambani, and they rejected him and so on. But you were complaining about that same thing 2 days ago, that if that is the case, that all go create a ruckus and all kind of foolishness. Yesterday was yesterday. Pick a struggle now, seriously. You were chastising him for possibly selling the refinery to this man a few days ago. And then last night, you're coming to talk now rubbish, yesterday, to talk rubbish about Dr. Rowley get rejected, just like with Sandals. Dr. Rowley wasn't rejected with respect to Sandals. Teams were put in place on both sides to establish a Sandals in Tobago. And it was because he likes of you all, you haters, who don't want nothing good for this country, and it mustn't come from the PNM. It mustn't come from the PNM. And if it is, it means that all you have to run foreign direct investment, then so be it, just to make the PNM look bad and make Dr. Rowley look bad. But don't realize that you're shooting yourself in the foot, in the head, in the eye, all over. Because we could have been benefiting now from Sandals. Which brings me to the other topic I wanted to touch on in the interest of time. This article that came out about Trinidad being the worst performing economy in the Caribbean region, written by Professor Hossain and some others. And, well, I could only read what was in the newspaper article, so I don't have the full context of the report. I'm going to touch on Ras Mirage to understand billion. Right. Jerome Moses. I'll talk about the $2.5 billion on Tuesday, Jerome Moses. I spoke about it before, but I know you are a member. You are one of the chief members of the Fully Done Screw, also known as the Waterfront. I need to take my time and explain it to you. You need crayons and a big sheet of paper. So I need to draw it for people like you. I can't just explain it, because your IQ level is probably -5, lower than that. So the way I would explain it to everybody else is different for you and your ilk, right? So you need a special class. So you could go out there and buy a box of crayons and a sketch pad, and we will work with it from there, right? And I'll try to explain it to you. I know. That's what you need. The rest of it, and you're like, yes, that is a Samsung television that I have behind me, 65-inch. And I didn't buy it in quotes. It's not paid for. It was paid for in cash. Well, I swiped my credit card in case you want to know. What else you want to know? Anyway, so this article that came out, let me just get this, right? TNT's worst performing regional economy. University of the West Indies economist Professor Roger Hossain is convinced that TNT can learn from Guyana's exceptional economic growth performance. While Guyana's average annual real gross domestic product growth was 18% between 2015 to 22, during that same period, TNT's annual average real GDP growth was -2.7%, the worst performing in the region. Guyana's economy is also projected to be the world's fastest growing economy between 2025 to 2029. Why is that? An academic report authored by Hossain and economist Dr. Rebecca Gokul-Bosland and released in early May highlighted this data and provides a brief overview of the Caribbean economy's growth performance. Hossain informed the Business Guardian that all data used in the report is from the IMF. The report covers data on growth from 2015 to 2023, 2024 to 2029 where possible, and it covers both tourism and non-tourism dependent Caribbean economies. It investigates the impact of COVID-19 growth shock and the reaction by Caribbean countries to this shock. It looks at the output gap in these Caribbean countries in the period 2021 to 2024. It also reviews the rapid economic boom in Ghana and makes a few comments about its stability. He told the Business Guardian that what TNT's government can do if it is to imitate Ghana's successes. TNT has to increase its drilling in oil and gas so that the economy can benefit not only from price surges, but also from production increase as well. If, Lord Father, if the obvious wasn't obvious. But thanks for that. Thanks for letting us know that, Dr. Hossain. For pointing out what has been evident to everybody for the longest while. He goes on to say, I'm hopeful that the TNT government would push for about 3 e-tech parks within the next 3 years. I'm hopeful that they would look for investors because the e-tech park in Point Lisas only has 1 investor as far as I'm aware. So the government built an e-tech park. We know about the park in Point. Where has Dr. Hossain been? Has he been so invested in his books and marking papers in UWI that he's not aware of what is taking place in the country? Has he not been looking at the news, reading the newspapers with respect to the government's efforts to tenant the e-tech park in Point Lisas? So he says as far as he is aware. Now, do your research. That's what you do. As far as you are aware. So you're not sure. So not sure tells me you didn't do your research. So you're just speaking from the top of your head. So you don't know if there are other tenants in that e-tech park, which there are, but he thinks it's just one. And the one that he probably knows of is because he read about the company that is producing the Samsonite suitcases and so on out of Trinidad and Tobago. So whereas before, once upon a time, when you bought a Samsonite suitcase, which is among the best in the world, you would see probably made in China or Europe or whatever. Now you would see made in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And I think it was reported a couple months ago that they would have sent off their first shipment to North America, right? But as far as he knows, that's the only tenant there. Do your research, Dr. Hossain. Credibility is important. And if you want us to buy into this study that you did or this report, you can't be telling me things like the e-tech park only have 1 tenant as far as you are aware. As far as you are aware. That says you're not sure. He goes on to say, I also think that the formation of the specific economic zones will help with economic diversification. Drawing an analogy between the game of cricket and the region's economic performance, the report says that in the past, in the true tradition of Michael Holding, Michael Marshall, Andy Roberts, and Kirtley Ambrose, the CARICOM sphere had placed like fire. In the tradition of fast bowling, all these analogies and things is not necessary. You just up with that. Let me run past that. The report states that the rapid pace of this growth is fueled by the extensive revenues generated from its production of hydrocarbons. We're talking about Guyana. In 2020, Guyana was ranked number 1. In 2021, number 1. 2022, number 2. 2023, number 1 fastest growing economy in the world. So fast is Guyana's actual and projected growth between 2015 to 2029, that by the end of 2029, it is expected to be 12 times larger than 2015. The report also referred to data which shows that as of March 2024, Guyana's reserves are said to be estimated at around 11 billion barrels, with production expected to be about 1.2 million barrels of oil per day by 2027. Some reports are, we don't need to talk about that. Tourism. The report explains that tourism as a service export is of tremendous importance to the region, given that this sector is one of the main avenues for earning foreign exchange for many Caribbean economies, and it paints an optimistic picture for the future industry. Global tourism economy is improving, and basically at the end of 2023, this sector was closer to 2019 levels of tourism arrival activity as compared to 2020. And he goes on again to talk about Guyana. By 2026, Guyana is expected to grow to 92.4% more than in 2023. The other fast-growing, above 10% Caribbean economies in this time period are Dominica, 12.6%, Grenada, 11.2%, St. Kitts and Nevis, 13.3%, St. Vincent, 12.5%, Turks and Caicos, 14.4%. Interestingly, no mention of Barbados and Jamaica in that. So I don't really want to read too much more. He says Dominica has been experiencing strong growth in recent times, and this is expected to hold in the medium term on the back of improvements in tourism, agriculture, and its public sector investment program. So I want to stop right there, right, to poke some holes in this report. Because as Dr. Hussain says, his report was based on IMF figures, right? So not based on empirical data. In other words, he didn't go and visit all of these countries. Now we know why Guyana is booming, because Guyana recently found oil and they have plenty of oil and oil and oil. If they didn't have that, well, they wouldn't even be a part of the conversation. And we know that efforts, this government in particular, has been strengthening its efforts to try and find new oil and new gas. But that is not a cheap undertaking. So you need money and you need investors to be able to look for new oil and new gas. The previous administration, under Kamala Persad-Bissessar, did what? Offered generous concessions to these energy companies to encourage them to come and look for new oil and new gas, allowing them to write off the cost of looking for gas and finding the oil and gas against any revenues that they would pay to the state from existing projects or existing wells that they have and so on, creating a situation where these entities would not have had to pay taxes, royalties, and so on to the state until 2027. We are currently in 2024. Right? So, reading this report and reading Ralph Maraj and his foolishness, and we'll deal with Ralph Maraj on Tuesday probably, on some other day, about diversification and all of these different things. We see with the restructure of Petrotrin now, heritage, whereas before, under the old model, exploration and production, which deals with looking for new oil, was a department in Petrotrin, just a department. Now it is an entire company that is dedicated to finding new oil, whether it is that Heritage is doing their own drilling, or whether it is that they're farming out to independent lessors and so on. Right? People like AB Drilling and the like, so that oil fields that is deemed to be matured, you could farm it out to them and they could go and invest their money, their capital, and see what oil they could find there and make back and so on. But the future is, as we see now, is deep water and the likes and so on. The government has on numerous occasions had several bid rounds. It wasn't as successful as they would have liked because deep water drilling is very expensive. And therefore, if it is that you want, these companies, the same people who wanted to know what concessions was given to Sandals and concerned about concessions, they weren't concerned about concessions to the energy companies between 2010 to 2015, which cost us a lot more than any concessions we would have given to Sandals. But I raised the issue where it talks here, and Dr. Hussain want to tell us we need to look for more oil and more gas and do more drilling. Duh, Dr. Hussain, the government knows that. That is why they've been working feverishly with respect to the Dragon gas deal. That if it is that comes to fruition, the amount of gas that is there, and the whole arrangement, the profit sharing arrangement, notwithstanding the portion that is ours, solely ours, that as there's a lot of revenue to come from there, which would improve our growth prospects. Obviously, you would see our growth figures not looking as great as Ghana because we don't have we producing about 56 to 58,000 barrels of oil per day. Right now, Ghana producing about 675,000 barrels of oil per day, more than 10 times what we produce in. And this is not just Heritage, this is all of the players in our energy sector, 58,000 barrels of oil per day. So obviously, when it is that a significant portion of our GDP comes from the energy sector, what do you expect? You don't think that the government want to be producing hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil per day? But they don't have any control over that. It's for these energy companies to take the decision to do that. It is them, they are the ones investing their capital to be able to do that. Government can't wring their hand and tell them go out there and find oil and find gas. They have to offer incentives, but these incentives must not come at the expense of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, as what obtained between 2010 to 2015. Dr. Rowley is not prepared to do that. And if it is that, it means that the oil and gas has to stay into the ground until we could get better opportunities to be able to bring it. In the meantime, we will pursue what is right in front of our very eyes. But of course, because of geopolitical issues, that too is up in the air. But a lot of stride, and this administration has done more than any other administration to bring the Dragon gas situation to where it is today. But again, just as with the Cricket Academy and just as with the Sandals, you have citizens, persons who call themselves citizens, who try to sabotage that too. And every day when they go down on their knees to pray, praying that somehow that project could be scuttled, praying that Donald Trump come back into office because this was something negotiated with the Biden administration. They know how Trump feels about Venezuela. But they want the best for Trinidad. They want us to be like Dubai and Qatar. But when it is this government is doing things to get us to that point, because you don't like the PNM and you don't like Keith Rowley, you don't want it. So you're prepared to sabotage it and talking nonsense, but when Kamala come back in office, they will do. What will they do? It's the same thing with Sandals when Watson Duke tell Ole, well, yeah, let them go. But when the PDP wins the election in Tobago, we'll call Ole back. They call them back? We waiting. What's going on? Where are they? Sandals is under new management. Where are they? You see the same thing I'm talking about. When you build relationships, about building relationships. So the same way Dr. Rowley is building relationships with the future of the Reliance Group. And to build a relationship with the future of Sandals. Mr. Gordon Butch Stewart is no longer here, but his son Adam is now in charge. But remember, this is something Dr. Rowley negotiated before he became Prime Minister. So since before he became Prime Minister, he has been marketing Trinidad and Tobago, and we came so close. You can probably try again and see what could happen. But I don't think Adam Stewart, who would have been integral in that whole negotiations, he is fully aware, intimately aware of what they faced between 2018 or thereabouts, 2020. So he is not inclined to come back here because the mindset of these citizens haven't changed. It's the same. They're not prepared to have any of these things come to Trinidad so long as Keith Rowley is Prime Minister and the PNM is in office. But should Kamala Persad-Bissessar come back? Oh yes, you could go ahead and explore it. In fact, we don't care anything about the ecology. We couldn't care about the environment, or they just bring it here. We don't want no probity, no transparency. We're only interested in them things when the PNM in office. Those words only exist in their vocabulary, the fully dense vocabulary, when it is the PNM and Keith Rowley is in office. So once they're not in office, do all they want, man. We don't care about that. $789 million in housing cannot be found, but we ain't talking about that, but still talking about AVJ. So in the interest of time, let me just touch on this and I'll continue it on Tuesday. So specific mention was made here about Dominica. And as you all know, I was in Dominica 3 weeks ago, right? And I don't agree with what Dr. Hussain has said. And this is coming out from based on what I saw in Dominica and having conversations with citizens of Dominica. The issue of tourism. Right? So right now, Dominica is building a new airport, which they need. Because the airport that they currently have, the runway is so short that the planes actually drop on the runway. It feels like that. In fact, several people, some of the speakers who attended the conference who would have come in like a day or two before the end of the conference, made mention of that. They say, the Jamaican guy, Pastor Maraj, say when I'm flying into Dominica, The man dropped the plane on the runway. That is how it felt. Because the runway is so short. So you know when you're coming in, for those of you who have traveled, the plane has glide a little bit over the runway before they touch down. Yeah, none of that there. The runway too short. So as you enter, drop the plane, march brakes, and yeah, that's how it is. So they're building a new airport. Congratulations to them, which cost them over $1 billion EC, I think. And their citizens are not up in arms because the government building a new airport at that cost. But Dominica is still a long way in terms of tourism. Because this conference that was held in Dominica, it is a conference that we have every year in a different Caribbean country. So you may recall last year I was in Jamaica for the conference. We had last year about 515 attendees at that conference in Jamaica. In Dominica, we had 265 attendees. And we had to cut off registration at a particular point in time because Dominica did not have the room stock to accommodate 500 plus persons. Jamaica has that. Jamaica, in Montego Bay, they have a whole set of hotels, all-inclusive hotels and whatnot with significant room stock. So they were able to accommodate everybody. Dominica didn't have that. So it's not that we couldn't have had the numbers, because this congress usually has a lot of attendees from throughout the Caribbean region. But Dominica didn't have the room stock. So they have the one hotel, which is Intercontinental Resort and Spa in Cabritz. And the only other facility that they have of similar caliber, just a little higher, is a facility called Secret Bay, right? So Intercontinental, where we stayed, and you would have seen when I posted up the video of my room and the resort and so on. I must say, probably one of the best I've ever stayed in, and I've stayed in many hotels around the world. They have 129 rooms, which comprises single rooms, double rooms, and suites, and so on. But we would have taken up the entire hotel for that period, and still 70 of the 265 persons could not be housed at the hotel, and we had to find alternative accommodations for them outside, off-site, which many people were upset about because the quality of the room stock that we found for them outside was less than. And given what they would have paid for this conference, persons were very upset about it, right? And it wasn't for lack of trying, because when the board got there and we saw what the situation was, we made every effort to try and find, because we knew these persons would not be happy. And we tried all how to find alternative accommodation that was as close as possible to what the Intercontinental could offer, and we simply couldn't find it. Now, while some people may be inclined to say, well, it's because of the hurricane and that happened in 2017 that decimated the island, and that is responsible in part. My understanding was that from persons who would have attended the same conference in 2013 in Dominica, same thing happened, that there was a shortage of room stock. Persons were very upset, who the main hotel who had to stay outside. If you're going to promote tourism, you need room stock. And at this point in time, Dominica does not have that. Not for a lack of trying. We went into the two main towns, Portsmouth and Roseau, which is the capital. And in speaking to some of the Dominican citizens there, and they are telling you that the capital, which really, really needs some work, because it to some extent, it looks like it's stuck in a time warp. And one of the guys who was the organizer of the conference was saying the reason why Dominica and Roseau have so many derelict buildings is because the citizens of Dominica who own these buildings are holding back progress, because when offers are made to purchase these buildings, they want all kind of $1 and $2 million EC dollars for these buildings, and it's clearly not valued at that. We're talking about less than an acre of land. These buildings are on small buildings, so that the capital itself is underdeveloped. So when we went there, there's seemingly no tourists. So we stayed at this resort for most of the time. And again, airlift is another problem, because the conference ended on the Wednesday. We were supposed to leave the Thursday, but all the flights were booked up. We had to, a chartered flight had to be arranged for the Jamaicans because they had the largest contingent, and there are no direct flights from Jamaica to Dominica. So you have to charter a special plane to take the Jamaicans back home. And so we had to stay an extra night and leave the Friday. So we decided rather than stay at the resort, we will go down to Roseau and see what else the country has to offer, rather because we saw a lot of Portsmouth. Let's go on the other side of the island. And we stayed at a place called the St. James Hotel. But that was a misnomer because it wasn't a hotel, it was in fact a guest house. Right? And the rooms were very small. They just had you had your bed, television on the wall, small bathroom, and they give you a desk and a chair. And that was it. So room stock is a problem. About one of the guys was telling me, one of the guys we hired to take us around the island because we wanted to see a little bit more. He was saying that a lot of their income comes from CBI, which is citizenship by investment. So you could come to Dominica, bring your money, invest in the country, and you could become a citizen through that means, which is something that a lot of the Dominicans don't like. They have a population of 72,000 persons, right? But you need to be able to attract foreign hotel chains to succeed in tourism. I'll be the first to admit, I think the government needs to do a lot more work in terms of tourism. But again, is us. Because Trinidad is supposed to host this conference in 2026. And one of the biggest headaches that we have right now is the issue of finding all-inclusive accommodation, which is critical, all-inclusive. So not just you find a hotel that could accommodate. Yes, Hyatt could accommodate, but we need all-inclusive. It must provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the persons. Because when they pay the money, you must get that. We must have all of the conferences and everything, which is why Trinidad is booming right now, because they have several hotels that offer all-inclusive accommodation, right? And they are now becoming a much sought-after territory for conference tourism. You have companies all over the world that are looking to have conferences in different parts of the world, and they look to countries that have that aesthetic, which we are lacking. But Sandals would have been all-inclusive, but hey, we know what the story of Sandals is, right? We don't want that. Forget that. So we are looking at, okay, could we do it in Trinidad, or should we do it in Tobago? But if we do it in Tobago, again, room stock. We're looking at the Magdalena, and what else? We'll have to find some other hotel and probably negotiate an all-inclusive package and all of these different things. So these are the challenges that we face. Now, everybody wants to open a hotel in Guyana because of the future prospects of Guyana. So it's like every Monday morning you read about a new hotel chain opening. But look at what is happening in Tobago. You have a local group, and a local real estate group that is looking to build the Marriott Hotel in Tobago, in Rockley Bay, I think. And they're getting pushback from Tobagonians who complaining again about the environment and this and the turtle lane grounds and all kind of things. It's like people just sit down and say, let me see all the negatives we could bring up in this. Forget the positives. Focus on all the negatives that could come out of that, and let's talk about that. And run investment. We want the country to grow. We want to diversify the economy, but whenever it is opportunities present itself for the economy to grow and for us to diversify, you always have a group of citizens who louder than those who want it coming out and protest. We don't want it because of this and we don't want it because of that. So how the hell are they expect to grow? How do you expect the country to go to the next level when this is that we had a level? It is madness. But hey, what we gonna do? Folks, it's already 8:17, so let me take this call, and then Tuesday I'll continue that discussion, right? Because it is just a discussion that needs to be had, because that report, in my view, is wholly inaccurate. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Morning, sir. Loud and clear.
Very good. I just told a friend of mine that I put nothing past the UNC to kill off this enterprise that the Prime Minister has entered in with the Indian family, or the family in India.
Yes.
Anything is possible. They reported us to Trump via Mondello. They wrote to the Attorney General of Australia to block the transaction to get the boats for the sea bridge and other things. And one more thing, and it's been troubling me for a year now, exactly 1 year. As a matter of fact, a year and 2 months. I've been looking at the new appointees to the independent bench. There is one particular appointee that sticks out for me like a sore thumb. There is a particular independent senator who opposes everything. When she doesn't come right out and say, I don't agree, and I'm not supporting it, she hides behind this nonsense about abstain.
Yes.
She has never supported one piece of legislation coming from this government. And I think it was in the end, in retrospect, my humble opinion is that it turned out to be a grave error of judgment on the part of the president of this country. You see, she felt that because this lady was affiliated to in an emotional relationship with this big economist who is now deceased, she felt, and he was an African man, she felt that would have enabled her to approach things with a sense of balance and fairness and fair play. But you see, the atavism stands out more than anything else. That is the bottom line. And I followed this piece of legislation that came last week, and it was piloted by the Attorney General. And after this lady spoke, Mr. Armour made one very telling statement. He said, word to the effect, can we never once in this country put aside the negativity and look at some of the positives in some of the legislation that comes to this parliament? Why are we always so negative and opposing everything and backward? He said so, and it is a concern of mine. I associate myself with his sentiments. And people who follow the parliament channel, particularly the Senate, you would see that particular trend coming from that particular senator. I have taken very serious note of it, and I think the president, in the end, maybe it's naivety, but in the end, I would have to conclude that it was a grave, grave error of judgment, making that appointment. It was a complete misreading of the social and realities of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. And I too have made that observation on the few occasions that I would have listened to the contribution of that particular senator. There are a couple others that are not too sure of as well, you know. But listening, one in particular, a gentleman listening to his contribution, it's questionable as to which side he stands on. But two of them in particular, oh yes. Oh yes. I hear you loud and clear. Let me see who I have here. Hello, good morning. Who is this? Hello? Give me 1 sec there. Just don't know what happened. Jenny, give me 1 sec. Let me just switch devices. Let me see. Hello? This is connecting. Hello? Jenny? Hello? Why am I not hearing? Jenny, you there? I don't know what's going on. Let me just do this over. Hold on, folks. I don't know why this thing is not cooperating with me this morning.
Dominic?
Yes, Jen, go ahead.
Hi, morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Morning to all the callers and those who are listening to Success Stubborn Things. Dominic, I know that finance is your areas, right? So I want to understand what it is Professor Roger Hossain and the chartered accountant Mariana Brown really does be talking about. Because I saw a clip with Shirley Das that would have shown that the standard of living in Trinidad and Tobago, we high up on the index about 40-something, or about 100 and something countries. Our standard of living is at a high, well, a good condition. And then when you listen to what the IMF would have said when they was here just this year, that the first time in a decade our economy is looking good. It has a momentum for growth now. It is growing. You hear what Standard & Poor's and Moody said, and those are international top-rating agencies, lending agencies and credit agencies. And they say we're doing good. I look at recently here, probably a day ago or 2 days ago, that Craig Yarborough opened a flagship store in that area. Well big. It's like a warehouse where all those designers was there and all that.
Yes.
So he has moved from the little space at the corner of Henry and oh gosh, I think is Queen Street and whatever. So he has that there. And then when I look at some of the monies that companies in this country made year-ended 2023, it is not reflecting what it is Professor Hossain and Mariona Brown is saying. For instance, Mansell McCall recorded $594.5 million in profit after tax in 2023, compared to $265.8 million in 2022. First Citizen Bank also recorded $777 million from total assets and $44.7 billion in 2023. Republic Bank recorded $503 million in a 3-month period ending December 2023. Prestige Holdings recorded $987 million in sales in 2023, an increase of 22% from 2022. New car sales continued to trend up until 2023, surpassing 2022 by 12.69%. That's according to the Automotive Dealers Association. So when I watch all these figures, could you guide me, Dominic? Is that a sign of an economy that is not performing well? Because it has to be people who are buying an investment that is making these monies for these different companies. Then when you looked at almost every weekend in the month, you have a concert with those big entertainers from Jamaica coming Trinidad. Now, if they wasn't making money, they would not be coming here.
Yes.
So who it is buying those tickets? I am not seeing closed stores closing down. So it means to say they're getting sales. I am not seeing groceries closing down. In fact, they're opening even more groceries. So it means to say somebody is buying the products. Who are buying these products that these groceries, like Macy's and others, are able to make all these huge billion-dollar profits and open bigger groceries? I don't understand it, Dominic. That's why I'm asking you as a person in finances, because there seems to be a cognitive dissonance, a break in reality with people like Mariona Brown and Professor Hossain, that the truth and the facts in front of them. However, they prefer, in my opinion, to give you alternative fact. And that is worrying to me because the position that these learned men hold in society. Because Mariona Brown was a former Minister of Finance. And we know Professor, he has been bumped up from Dr. Hossain. He's professor. What are they really teaching and telling people? And because of that, it tells me, it appears as though all of them are working together. When you look at the behavior of the Auditor General, who is refusing to enter into her report of revenue, meaning profit, of $2.6 billion. However, under the former Auditor General, Sharon Utley, when she did her same report, she was recording that millions of dollars was being spent in ministries under Kamla Persad-Decensor without any documentation and any justification for the spending. Now, that is thieving, in my opinion, if you want to talk about thieving, because you can't show the Auditor General why only spending millions of dollars. And she pointed out the ministries that were at fault in doing that. But nobody didn't say that Kamla and them thieving money. When we couldn't find the building in Bataria, where they still spending so much millions of dollars in rent for the CPO office. And when they want to talk to CPO people, they say, no, we right here on St. Vincent Street. Them don't know about no building. When we think about the Point Fortin highway, where was a roundabout and a roundabout and a roundabout, and they give a bankrupt company, OAS, the contractor bill it. And then just 2 days before the election, they removed the clause and OAS was able to take back the $1 billion that I put down as a bond. And this government under Dr. Christopher Rowley would have fought arbitration when Moodilal said, what are fighting for that for? Or they're going to spend more money. And this government was able to get back the $1 billion to help assist in the same Point Fortin highway and further projects. So when they're talking about thieving, I don't get it. Because why would you want revenues to be recorded if you thief it? Because the Auditor General don't have it in she report. She's not the wiser. So then they could take it and say nothing. But you will take it and tell them, hey, look, we make 2.6 billion in revenue, include it in the report. It does not make sense. Just like Mariona Brown, who, if you ask about the history in Barbados, is very questionable because when he was there, they had to bring charges against him. It's not me say, for all kinds of nefarious behaviors in the banking institution that he was working. And then I don't know how he ended up in Trinidad and becoming Minister of Finance. And when you hear Roger Hossain, professor, spouting things that he ain't doing enough research on, he's just giving an opinion based on I don't know what. And then the figures I just call out does not support what he said. And finally with Guyana, all the things they say Guyana making, if you listen to Mr. Glenn Lal of Kaita News, he would tell you because of the old outdated contracts that Guyana has with ExxonMobil, Guyana ain't making no money in comparison to what ExxonMobil making. So all the money we're making, the people in Guyana are not enjoying anything really. So I don't know how that could continue like that and they're like the best performing economy and we must watch them. No, Glenn Lal admitted. Listen to Prime Minister Dr. Rowley. This man is a leader. This man said contracts are not set in stone. And as circumstances change, contracts could change. And you know what he meant by that? When Dr. Rowley came in 2015, after Jalala Ramaran said, after the UNC enjoyed over $100 in gas, US dollars in gas, a barrel. In 2015, Jalala Ramaran had the goal to come to tell this country we're in a recession. We can't let them do all the money. When Dr. Rowley and they came in, they met oil prices all down to $40-something. They met recurring expenditure because they had to pay public officers and everybody when the money come. So they went to all the banking areas we had to get money. They went to First Citizen, they hear they had nothing there because UNC used it. They went to this one, the money used out. They went this way, the money used out. When they go to the oil companies, you know the oil companies and them say, oh, they get the memo about. We have a contract where we had to give all in not until 2024. And Dr. Rowley went with Minister Stuart Young and the seats and Franklin Kahn before he died and renegotiated all those contracts with those oil companies till Minister Young was able to say in 2019, out of corporate taxes from those renewed contracts, Trinidad and Tobago made about $6 billion in revenue and we continue to. That is the government working for you. So I recheck Roger Hossain and I recheck Mariona Brown. The petticoat showing and it ain't looking good. It's looking like Mal show. It's looking like jaundice. I go and have a blessed month.
Thank you, Jay. Brian, morning. Brian.
Good morning, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
Dominic, I have a question, and good morning to your listeners and callers. Dominic, I have a question to ask you. Is it a fact that there are two rating agencies that have determined that Trinidad and Tobago is below investment grade that you know of?
No.
Well, on Friday, I was trying to allude to on Sunday gone. Mariano Brown said so. He did not call the name of the rating agencies.
Not surprised.
But he said that do you know that there are 2 rating agencies that have determined that Trinidad and Tobago is below foreign investment grade? That is Mariano Brown. He didn't call the name of the agencies because I couldn't get back into ask him, well, explain to me, tell me who these rating agencies are. You know, so I don't know, you might know, as a finance man, as Sister Jenny just said, you will know better than me. That's why I suppose the question. But you see, Dominic, there's a clear and present issue here that everybody is determining, because you see, as I keep saying, their words will make papers and it will make TV6 and UNC3 news. Yours wouldn't, mine wouldn't. Sister Jenny's wouldn't, Mr. Chance one wouldn't. And all the other callers, Simpleton and everyone, their Simpleton, their words would not make news. But when these fellas, these armchair politicians, these armchair economists say these things, it makes news and people run with it. Understand? Just like this morning on TV6, the Emsom Princess Tong say that when they left office in 2015, there was 73% of the country was getting water. And now only 16% getting. These are the kind of things you're going to hear on the news tonight on TV6. You understand? And nobody, and Mara Hopkins is not asking him, well, where you get your empirical information from? That cannot be true. So where the water gone? Are we still paying $7 million a month to this private entity for this desal plant in Point Lisa? So explain to me where you're getting your figures from. And these are some of the questions that people like Marlon are supposed to be asking these fellas. But they're not going to ask them that. But Dominic, I want to go to a more important point that you raised earlier at length. And people have to understand that what Dr. Rowley is doing, and I must admit, I'm going to use a particular word this morning, he is pioneering the future for the youth of Trinidad and Tobago as far as we becoming millionaires are concerned in cricket. And I'm going to explain why. Because when the university has failed to continue the Brian Lara Stadium and Academy, right? Where a lot of the cricketers come from South. You have Power Gen, you have Clark Road, you have Central Sports, which won the recent T20 tournament in Trinidad and Tobago. The only major club you have up in town these days is QPCC. You understand? But the majority of the major clubs are in Central and South. So why would they not want to see the Brian Lara Stadium prosper? When Dr. Rowley was invited to go to meet with the head of Reliance or his son, Akash, yeah, people have to understand something and you have to look at it. In football right now, we don't really have anybody per se who have real weight in football in Trinidad and Tobago at present because our football is in the doldrums. But you know where we have weight, Dominic? We have weight in cricket. Dominic, if you could recall about 3 years ago, there was cricket in Trinidad with Tyrone Pollard when he was very active and playing for Mumbai Indians. And the IPL was about to start. What did Avani and they do to get Tyrone Pollard back to India as quickly as possible? They sent a private jet to Trinidad to pick him up.
Correct.
Tyrone Pollard had to go and pack. He didn't even have time to get something to eat. They said, no, we're going to feed you on the plane. And the time he and his family direct to Mumbai, they tell him sleep on the plane.
Correct, yes.
That is how important to us.
That is correct.
And people must understand that these people are looking at race, they're looking at money and profits and the future. And they saw the future in Tyrone Pollard. That is why I was not surprised when the Honorable Prime Minister indicated when he came back from Ghana and Mumbai, Mumbai, that these two people did not run the line, and Kieron Pollard, who said when he retired from cricket in India, from playing to IPL, he said, we're not going to any other club. I am staying with Mumbai. If I can't help them in any way, I am done with cricket in India. And they kept him on as a batting coach because they recognize his importance to them. And that is why Sunil Narine, when they wanted to bring him back, everybody was saying, oh God, bring back Sunil for the World Cup. No, Sunil Narine said, and these were important words, hey, I am at peace. You know why? Because he's making his money by playing internationally abroad. They recognize him because people like Desmond Haynes don't care to pick any Trinbagonian on this West Indies teams. There was West Indies team that was picked recently. Any Trinbagonian on it? Mark Vial might do it, I'm not sure. But I don't think so. They go and play three games in South Africa. And when Dr. Rowley went across it to speak to the Reliance Group, what he was doing was pioneering a channel for the youth in Trinidad to begin with, so that they could better themselves and become more expert. Because you know why, Dominic? Do you know what's happening? Do you know why most of the practice matches are playing not only in Trinidad but in America? And do you know what? Do you know that most of the games, the tickets for the World Cup in America are practically sold out in America? Because that is the new frontier for cricket and money. Dr. Rowley explained it when we was asked the question in the VIP lounge of the Piarco International Airport. What is the difference between the CPL and the IPL? He says, it's chalk and cheese, in my words. It's a big, big, big difference. You understand? Because they look at it as an investment. Not only for themselves, but for the people. You understand? And we have to grab hold of it from CPL. Otherwise, only CPL making money in the countries of the Caribbean, of CARICOM. That is what you were trying to explain. And we are so small that how many of us need to go to the games? The largest stadiums right now who have increased the seating outside of these smaller islands is Barbados, who going to hold the final, and Trinidad and Tobago. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a plethora of games in where? United States of America. You remember when football now started off in the 1950s in America? They didn't know what, they said, we can't call it football, we're going to call it something else because we done playing football already. And that was their staple. Today they call it soccer. Look at how these stadiums are filled in America for soccer, Dominic. What do you think is going to happen in America in a few years' time? So the genesis of it must start somewhere, and Dr. Rowley saw the opportunity, and he has the foresight to see and understand that, hey, at the end of the day, India open an academy in Trinidad and Tobago. What do you think they're going to send to Trinidad and Tobago? We told us talking about sports tourism. But what do you think going to happen? So there's a benefit to what is happening right now. That's why Dr. Rowley found no hesitation in carrying Shampa Kosho with him so that she could understand. Because as he rightly said, she was perplexed because she could not believe how large and how big this thing and how important it was to India. And thereby, she would now understand why it is that we must go all out to assist Reliance in giving them that 30 acres of land to develop that academy. So that at the end of the day, them same youths on the East-West corridor, who we keep talking about, the urban youths, yes, themselves, who may not even know they have a cricketing ability, could go there now, eventually in a few years' time, and get training not only from locals, but from not only from West Indians, but from even the Indians who they may send down here. You understand? And thereby they could become rich like Narine and Kieron Pollard. Kieron Pollard's son playing cricket. He's a batsman. Nicholas Pooran decided he could not play for the West Indies in a particular tournament. You know why? Because he was in Dubai with his wife. He's not a multi-millionaire. So then the right thing me had to come back with only because I'm a multi-millionaire. You could Google these fellas on the kind of money that they're making, the net worth, the Laras, the Bravos. What do you think it is that you feel it's just chicken feed that they're being offered here? The mother fight up with Desmond Haynes at the Cricket West Indies, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. They are doing what they know is going to benefit Trinidad and Tobago, because just across the road in North America, cricket is going to take off exponentially. There are more teams playing in the World Cup this year than any other time in the history of the World Cup cricket. And therein lies the benefit of opening that stadium, that there will be a lot of benefit down the road, and we must be the genesis of it. And I want to thank the Prime Minister for his leadership and in allowing us to be the pioneer of this around the end of the day. And that's what hurting UNC. See that? That's hurting them because of the way he was accepted when he went across there. So they try to make Russia try to make small talk out of it. Because Modi, the Prime Minister of India, said, no. This is not no ordinary man coming here. We must upgrade his invitation to a status of something of more of a greater diplomacy when he comes. And he was very surprised to see what he may have been offered. Maybe a red carpet, we don't know. But at the end of the day, he was recognized for who he is. And you didn't have to go and kiss nobody's foot. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. See, so I have about 15 minutes again, so I'll take a few more calls. I see someone here on YouTube by the name of Kelvin Thompson saying the worst PNM government in the history of TNT. All right. Well, you're entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to your opinion, sir. Jerome Moses says what? Rowley's legacy is built in Balize House. Really, Jerome? Jerome, where you living? Where you living? You living in East Port of Spain? I was asking a question. You know that there is a new program that was launched by the East Port of Spain Development Company for budding entrepreneurs on that side of Port of Spain. You know, persons who are looking for an opportunity to be able to start a business. You're aware of that, Jerome, and you can get 20,000 to start your business. And the government is also offering you free space in New City Mall. You're aware of that, Jerome? Or no? Could you tell me anything that the UNC People's Partnership is offering but close to that, Jerome? Jerome, have you taken the opportunity to read the UNC's manifesto? You know what inside it, Jerome? You know what inside it? That while Keith Rowley trying to maintain the current exchange rate at 6.79, the UNC telling you you could get jammed. Yeah? And they prepared to take it to $10, but all they're coming here to talk rubbish about the worst PNM government in the history of TNT. And you're trying to promote another party that, I mean, it is mind-blowing. You know what's all the problem? You and Kelvin, Jerome, is that all you so hate Dr. Rowley, so hate the PNM for whatever reason, that you can't take off your political blinkers. And all you're seeing is hate. And all the opportunities that this administration has offered to the citizens of this country. UNC, between 2010 to 2015, offered nothing close, and their manifesto offers nothing close. When you read it, I have read their manifesto, so I know what's in it. You say, I don't have a problem reading something what I don't do. You want to say Rowley has done nothing. Jerome, are you mental? You need a checkup from the neck up? Are you serious? I'm asking, let me go for the basic level. Hold on 1 second, caller. Keith Rowley bought 3 ferries, brand new ferries to Trinidad and Tobago with less money than Kamla. How many ferries did Kamla buy, Jerome? The next time you jump on a ferry to go to Tobago, Jerome, let me ask you, which one Kamla buy? Tell me the name of the one that Kamla purchased. But Keith Rowley didn't do nothing for Trinidad and Tobago. Or let's say he mashed up the Sea Bridge when he came in because his predecessors didn't service the 2 ferries that we had. So one ended up in HCU, one ended up in ICU. He had to spend a ton of money to fix the one that was in the HDU, the HDU, the high dependency unit. He couldn't save the one in the ICU. And then he went and he bought 3 brand new ones. 3 brand new ones, right? Kamla ain't buying none. He built 5 hospitals. Contrary to the lies all they like to tell, he built the Arima Hospital, Kamla turned sod. He built Point 14 Hospital, Kamla turned sod for that too. The Grandy Hospital just finished, built Roxborough Hospital, and the Central Backup Port of Spain is almost complete. Kamla built 1 hospital, Jerry. The Kuva Hospital, 1 versus 5. But I know in that party, less is more for you. So 1 is worth more than 5. Okay? Well, they always complaining you need to spend money and buy hospital bed and build hospital. But he built 5. Kamla built 1. All right? And she borrowed money from Chinese to build that. All of these things, but all they don't give. He probably increased personal allowance 3 times. Kamla was in office for 5 years from 2010 to 2015. She didn't increase it once. Not once did she increase it. She came in 2010, personal allowance was 60,000. So if you're making more than 60,000, you had to pay income tax. Never touched it. He probably increased it 3 times. He went from 60,000, right? Then he increased it to 72, take it from 72 to 84, and then he take it from 84 to 90. So it now means that the average citizen earning more than $7,500 a month, paying $7,500 less in income tax than they were paying when Kamla was the prime minister. That is $7,500 that when Kamla was prime minister, person like myself who earning over $7,500 a month, that $7,500 used to be going to the Board of Inland Revenue. And if we entitled to get a refund, we had to wait till donkey years. Today, you're saving that. This Keith Rowley telling you keep that $7,500 that you was paying the Board of Inland Revenue on that Kamla. He said keep that. Spend it how you want. Jerome. Kamla gave you 0 increases in personal allowance. But Rowley do not know. I'll talk about Rowley only increasing taxes. Rowley has done more for tax relief than Kamla Persad-Bissessar ever did. Because she came in and she met VAT at 15 and she left it at 15. Keith Rowley reduced it to 12.5%. Unlike what Kamla Persad-Bissessar did. 2.5% on everything. She says she reduced VAT, she removed VAT on 7,000 food items, but she left it on everything else. So if you had to go and buy a car, you're paying more VAT on the Kamla than you're paying on the Keith Rowley. You go to the hardware, you're building your house, you're paying 2.5% VAT less on the cement, 2.5% VAT less on the bricks, 2.5% less on the galvanized, whatever it is you're using. All the materials, you're paying 2.5% less in VAT on the kit than you were paying on the Kamla. So you're spending more money on the Kamla to buy. Keith Rowley removed VAT on computers, on laptops, on cell phones. Did Kamla do that? No, she didn't. But all they like to come and talk stupidness. Keith Rowley increased the stamp duty limit on for the threshold for first-time homeowners from $850,000 under Kamla to $2 million. You know what that means, Jerome? It means if you're a first-time homeowner and you go to buy a house, under Kamla, if the house costs more than $850,000, you had to pay stamp duty on the difference between $850,000 and the cost of the house. Keith Rowley said we increased it to $2 million. So you could go and buy a house for $2 million as a first-time homeowner and pay $0.00 in stamp duty. You know what that means? That you could save up to $70,000 or more in closing costs your room that you could use to furnish your house, paint it, or add on an additional room. But when you don't understand them things, you don't understand them things. Talking about shit. Hear the nonsense. The police service sharing tickets. The police could only share ticket if you break the law. You understand that, Jerome? If you don't break the law, they can't give you a ticket. But you all have a bunch of lawless. Let me keep it friendly. So you must break the law and the police mustn't give you a ticket. But you same clowns will leave Trinidad and go to the US. Oh, rich. And only obeying the law. The speed limit is 65. You're driving at 40 because you don't want to get a ticket. Everything only abiding by. But in Trinidad here, the only way the police could give you a ticket is if you break the law. If you don't break the law, they can't give you no ticket. You want to drive on the bus route, but it's illegal and you get a ticket, you're vexed. They're wicked. They have roadblock. You're speeding. It is against the law. You have broken the law. That is what you all are not getting. Tickets are only issued when you break the law. So what, you want to have a lawless society? But that's what you like. Let me take this call here before, because this call I will. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dom. Let me start with the prayer. Thank you, Father God, for this nation, for the PNM government. Father, bless them. Lord, every negative word spoken against this land, is null and void, Father. God, you said you call us to be, and God will be because you said, Father. God's PNM is a first fruit, and God, the first fruit is always blessed, Father. There's a people in the Old Testament, right? They told the king that he will see wheat as sold for price, and the king didn't believe it, right? And to paupers, God bless. Father, prophesy that oil will flow, Father, in this land. Spiritual oil and natural oil, Father. God, I prophesy over the dragon gas deal, Father. It will come to pass because your word is ye and amen. And Father, God, I stir the waters. I stir the waters, Father. God, I stir the heavens. I stir the atmosphere, Father. I speak well over Mr. Rowley and Mr. Imbert, Stuart Young, and every cabinet member, Father, that, oh Lord God, will take hold of you, Father. You'll have no other God beside you. The only true and living God. His name is Jesus Christ, King of kings and Lord of lords, Father. God, I bless Dominic from the crown of his head to the feet, Father God. I bless him, oh Lord God. He will be a young man of greatness, Father. God will be a Samuel. When Eli's eyes went out, Samuel heard your voice. And God, I call for the Samuels, the Ezekiels, the Elijah, the Jeremiahs. I call for the Deborahs, the Stephens, the Peters, the Pauls, God. I call for Timothy and Titus in this land. I call forth and bless the hand of the plumbers, and the carpenters, some lots, and all the what they call the high-risk areas, high-risk, but God, they will be the planting of the Lord, that you be glorified in their life, in and out of peace. God, they'll be blessed. God, I bless Port Spain East. God, I bless the Akashanda Mahanda. God, I bless Jenny and Brian and all who will take hold and run with his Father. Every curse shall die now in the name of Jesus Christ and by the power of God, Father. If God showed them in 1 Kings 18, the people of Balaam saw they had a big thing, but the prophet came with his anointing and your power and your fire, oh Lord God, and every evil work was put to naught, Father. Every hateful of the UNC, God, will drive and die or return to sender by fire and by force, oh Lord God. God, all who speak about Rowley, Father God, they shall receive from their own mouth, oh Lord God. Every coffin dragger who did witchcraft against pagan people of African descent and nullify your evil was now in the name of Jesus. God, expose you and lies. God, expose them, Father, in no other name but the most powerful in Jesus Christ. Amen. As Dominic, you may think about the UNC is the sheep. This land will you, okay? You are sons of the soil. It's to your family, you were ancestors of India. Does India know you? Does India recognize you as their own? What happened to UNC? In the African, I will say, master's name, their visit, an invitation to the mind in you. That's like his chief. It was Kamla, the tour party and a parade. But because what is here, the Oreo, black man, it bothered them. Because he there got favor, it was called their own. It bothers them. Well, tough. There's more to come. And I prophesy now, there's more to come. His invitation will be every Monday morning. Not paid by him or his paid, but paid for by those who invite him. And he will get royalty treatment. He'll walk on red carpet. A prophesy that the deal will come to pass before the close of this year. And more will come and come and come and come. And every naysayer, you will eat your words. You will be made fools of the whole time. The Isle Robert, Harry Ramley, you will be seen as fools. History of TNT will not be kind to you. You'll be a joke forever and ever. Dom, have a good day. Bless people. Love you much.
Thank you. 1 second, Jen. Let me just tell Jerome something, right? Jerome, I don't know.
Forget he now. Forget he.
Jen, let me tell him one thing, right? You're vexed because they have a roadblock. You know, one of the things that these roadblocks accomplish is they reduce the amount of people on the road driving without car insurance. I don't know if you have a car, Jerome, but tell me how you will feel if somebody run into you and they don't have no car insurance. How your car fixing, Jerome? But you know, if it is, then we'd have roadblock all over the place. They say, look, I don't want to take the chance that I get caught and get a ticket. Let me go and fix my insurance. You all do appreciate the value of these roadblocks until things like this happen, but come in to talk rubbish. When it is that they have roadblock and only given lights to tell the people, hey, look, it have the police down there. It could very well be somebody who just robbed somebody who have ammunition or drugs in the car, driving down the road. And if you didn't indicate to them the police down the road, they might have get stopped and the police could have interdict them and take that gun or something off the road. But all you don't think and only complaining and doing like what is a whole Hansen and roadblock. It's because you're blasted lawless. Go ahead, Jen.
Dominic, I feel that they just get a script or some directive to go on any live to see persons who bring any facts and just put those things there, because some of the things they're saying realistically don't really make sense, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to thank the sister for her prayers every morning.
Yes.
And I want to say in line with how Jerome Moses, brother Moses, thinking, I will tell you this quickly. There are two gentlemen on a radio program on Evening Focus. This is what one of them said, and you know what? I just said, I wonder if he understand what he said. So in fact, he said he voting for country and not constituency. He is rational. In his community's constituency, apparently Dr. Naim Gatsby is his member of parliament. He has admitted she working. She does work. She's a good MP. He said he would have voted, if he had to vote, he would vote for she. He's a PNM, he will vote for she. But that would be selfish if he do that, because he has to think about country. So you have a member of parliament, listen what I'm saying, people, you have a member of parliament, whether it is a UNC member of parliament, a PNM member of parliament, or whatever. You say that the person is working, is a hard-working minister, but you can't vote for them because you can't vote constituency. You have to vote country. So how you will get the party that you're supporting in parliament if you vote constituency? And to start at that level, Dominic? Mm-hmm. Because if you're a member of parliament, whether it's UNC, PNM, or you don't vote for them, and everybody in the constituency don't vote for the party that they're comfortable with or confident in, how they go get into government? So that's why I tell you, the thinking and the rational. It is also when you see persons like Brother Moses and them putting up the comments, and you hear people like Marina Brown and Professor Hossein Tor, and you see the behavior of the Auditor General and so many others. It is cognitive dissonance, in my opinion. It is skewed. Again, this person said they voted for country, not constituency. Yet who they support and say is party, not country. So let me tell you, all of them lining up in a row and it's not adding up. They can't even cross the T's because it's not adding up. And that is what we have to deal with. So I will tell you, Dominic, continue on the path that you want, on all those keyboard warriors, all those on social media, all that, keep putting all the facts and don't get distracted. You may feel as though it's a mountain to climb, but trust me, the impact is happening. People are listening. They may not be commenting, but they are listening and they are pulling sense from nonsense. And the UNC presents nonsense. And as to Parry, I am not surprised at Parry's behavior, what he's saying. Because it's only people who want to lead the UNC. You have to think like how UNC does think. Because the tribe who does vote for them every year want them to be thinking and talking. So there's going to be no major shift in ideology if Parry comes into leadership in the UNC, or if Anita comes in, or if Rambali comes in. There's not going to be a shift in thinking. It's going to be the same thing. Same old thing. Bad, worse, and wasara. If that is a good. Thank you, Dominic. And with this year's PNM internal election,
not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. All right then. Well, we will talk. Yeah. All right, have a blessed one.
Right, so I could probably take one more quick call. Rowley is not for. Oh, correct. Jerome, you black? Asking a question seriously. You black? Well, you can't be serious, son. What can I do for black people? Tell me now, Jerome, what should you do for black people? You tell all about all your name is slave catcher, slave master. You have the slave master name. Which Jerome Moses? That's your name, right? What kind of name is that? That's your ancestor name, Jerome? No. According to Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who you supporting to come back as prime minister, you have a slave master name. But that's all you like. People who like to insult all you. That's all like. Yes, madam, can I have some more insults? Please, ma'am, can I have some more insults? Yes, I ain't getting enough for the day. I like to feel inferior. Please give me some more. Sure. Let me take this call. Hello, good morning.
Well, good morning, and go let you take this phone.
Hi, Zina.
Yeah, here, Dominic. Thank you, Jesus. Hear what? Don't worry, we locked down and listening, and you're talking to people who have sense and who knows exactly what is going on. So you don't worry with the haters. Let me tell you something, Dominic. You see, what Dr. Rowley on, path that he's treading, it will hurt a lot of them because they are haters. They are haters of black people. And I put in my mouth to say, they always feel that their guru could do better than Dr. Rowley. And it's just because they hate him why they can't see the good that Dr. Rowley do it. I saw one of the comments come up by the same person who you answering. And imagine you could find that Dr. Rowley gone Ghana to look to Obia, the Auditor General. Imagine that. That is how low he could think. Why didn't say when he passed through India it was for that? So you seeing them, you're making them out. So ignore them. You understand? And what you do in there is burning a lot of them. So keep bringing facts and stubborn things. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you, Zina.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rowley for the 1% and them. Jerome, when you're making these statements, you need to qualify it with evidence. You just come and tell me Rowley for the 1%. What did he do for the 1%? You know what I saw Kamala did? She take your taxpayers' money, Jerome, assuming you does pay tax. And she had a big lavish bram in the diplomatic center for the 1%. You remember that? Your taxpayers' money. She invite you, Jerome? How many people with ancestor names she invited, Jerome? How many she invited? She threw a whole big bram. You ever see she throw anything in the diplomatic center for the people with slave master name? But she had an event for them to have Mr. Aboud come up on stage and talk. And then she said, if the rest of Trinidad and Tobago were to emulate the Syrian Lebanese community, Trinidad and Tobago would be a better, a brighter, more prosperous nation. And what if we do what? If we emulate the 1%. That's what Kamala said. I want to play back the video for you Tuesday, Jerome, because like you forget. That's what she said. I didn't say that. She said that, Jerome. The same 1%. All the leases she renewed, that she complained about money going in the pocket through rent money for the 1%. All the leases that expired while she was prime minister, what did she do? Did she build new buildings, Jerome? Did she look for other buildings? No. You know what she did? She renewed the lease. You know what Keith Rowley did? He came in and he operationalized government campus. And he removed all those ministries out of the 1% buildings. And what did he do? He put them in the government campus. And he no longer paying rent to the 1%. So whereas the 1% was making $300 and $400 and $500 million a year in rent, under Kamla, if they're making $150 million now, Jerome, they're making plenty. And as I said on Sunday, the government continues in that vein. They build their own headquarters for Ministry of Health, so they ain't renting no more from the 1%. They're building a new headquarters for the Ministry of Social Development. You know what the Social Development Ministry renting from now, Jerome? Paris. So when they finish that building on Tragreet Road, at the corner of Tragreet Road and Stanmore Avenue, Jerome, no more rent for Paris. That building Paris have on St. Vincent Street, where the Ministry of Social Development is now, will be empty, Jerome. Empty. And they're building a new building for NLCB on Pembroke Street. So whoever they're renting from on Duke Street, no more rent for them, Jerome. They're building a new headquarters for the EBC in St. Clair behind the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Jerome. The government go on that too. So whoever EBC renting from on Frederick Street now at house, no more rent in their pocket, Jerome. Kamla didn't do none of that, Jerome. She didn't do that. You understand? You understand that? At the building at the corner of Independence Square and Abercrombie Street that for years was occupied by customs and millions in rent was going in the pocket of St. Nicholas. For the last 7 years, 8 years, St. Nicholas has not received 1 penny in rent for that building. All they have is a sign in front for rent, for sale, well, for rent. No money. For the 5 years Kamla was there, Jerome, he was collecting rent. You know what today? Customs occupying a government building and government campus. The building was there while Kamla was prime minister. For the 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, she never used it. She could have done that. And the millions that was spent in rent for that 5 years, 3 months and 14 days could have been used to do something else. Maybe they would have, the overdraft in the exchequer might have been, instead of 33, it might have gone down to 30. So when you want to come with chuppet talk and shuppet talk about the PNM, don't care about black people. There are plenty grants. Go on the website of the Facebook page of the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service and you will see. Go and look at the video footage of the last 2 graduation ceremonies for the CCC. Right? Over 1,500 young people graduated. Thanks to who? Not Kamla, because she closed down that, Jerome. And the majority of the people who graduated looking like you. They have slave master names. But it seems that you, Jerome, looking for the medal, or you want to be in the Guinness Book of Records as the most prominent lick butter. I've taken this last call and I'm done with you for the day. You could take recess now. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Good morning.
Oh, Lord Father. Yes, sir, good morning.
What's going on?
Leave it there, what Bacchanal coming with this morning?
Look at boy.
I say that. What Bacchanal coming with?
You know, when I hear you talk about it, I just have to ask myself the question, you know. Why did Dr. Rowley move the Ministry of Foreign Affairs where it's supposed to be and carry it around the savannah?
Where it's supposed to be?
The building next to the Hyatt.
Really? Why it's supposed to be there?
Mr. Manning put up buildings for that.
No. That is not true. That is not true. Mr. Manning put up the buildings at the Hyatt. It was supposed to house the International Financial Center. Trinidad and Tobago was supposed to be the regional financial hub, and Mr. Manning was inviting foreign investors. In fact, one of the companies that was supposed to house there was the Lehman Brothers, which was one of the leading investment houses in New York. And because of the global financial crisis of 2008-2009, Lehman Brothers went out of business. Mr. Manning was courting foreign businesses to come and set up there because he said in Singapore, they were attracting foreign direct investment because they realized that if you want people from the US to come and invest, you need to go up and not across, because they are accustomed to tall buildings, and that is why he built those buildings.
So he couldn't carry it across any complex.
Which complex?
I know you are surgeon, so you have plaster for every soil, you know.
Let me ask you something.
So he couldn't carry it across any complex.
You want to know why he put it in St. Clair? You want me to tell you?
Just now.
No, let me tell you why he put it in St. Clair and why it makes
a new building.
Wait, let me tell you why it makes sense to have it in St. Clair. Because every single embassy is located in St. Clair. Every single embassy is in the St. Clair area. The residence of the ambassadors as well as the office is in St. Clair. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is right smack dab center of all the embassies living. What else you need to know?
Mr. Manning put up buildings for government offices.
That is the government campus. Offices. Government campus, which is, and today, government campus is occupied by the Ministry of Education, the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Legal Affairs, the Board of Inland Revenue, Customs. Those are the entities that are occupying the buildings. The government campus is different from the waterfront. What else you need to know? Come again.
It still have room in the complex. I went there recently.
All right.
It still have room, Dominic.
Uh-huh. And again,
so what you carry on the Savannah for?
Because I just told you, all of the embassies, the foreign embassies and missions are located in St. Clair. If you drive down to the back and you go to Prada Street and all these places, you will see the flags of all the different embassies, the Jamaican, the Brazilian, all of them, the US, and all of them is in that area. Leave it there. They're not downtown. That is why the US Embassy has just purchased the country club, and they are going to build the embassy there. The Chinese embassy is just across the road. All of the embassies are located in the Maraval, St. Clair area. Does it not make sense to have your Ministry of Foreign Affairs smack dab in the center where all of the embassies are? So if it is the ambassadors have to come to you, they come in there. It's right there. Leave it there.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Of course, it wouldn't make sense.
You have plaster for every saw.
Right. So
I will leave it there.
All right, leave it there. So according to leave it there, it makes sense that if any of these ambassadors need to go and visit or pay a visit to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, drive downtown and go through the traffic. Remember in Trinidad, these ambassadors don't have police escort, right? So they must come around the Savannah. So leave where the office is in the Savannah, where the residence is, come around, drive around the Savannah, go down Frederick Street, or go down St. Vincent Street, which always have traffic, to drive down, to come back around on Ryson Road, which always have traffic, to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs there. To have to go and park in the Hyatt car park, to come out to go and see the minister. When it is, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is right there. The office of the Prime Minister is 2 buildings down. So if you need to go and pay a visit to the minister, you don't have to go far and you don't have to endure the traffic. And it makes sense to have the Foreign Affairs Ministry in the same area where all of the embassies and missions are. But that's not making sense to leave it there. It don't make sense to him. You know why it's not making sense to him? Because he didn't study that. He didn't study all of that. But you know, all of the main embassies are in that general area there. The St. Clair area. All of them. The German embassy, the Australian High Commission, the UK High Commission, all of them in that area. But it don't make sense to have the Foreign Affairs Ministry in the same place as all of the foreign missions. All right, leave it there. It's a good thing you leave that there. Folks, thank you all so much for joining me this morning. I went well over my time. Lord Father. Your disappointment this morning, leave it there. You're really, really disappointed. I expected better from you. I had to tell your sister, take away your phone for a week. Folks, we will chat again on Thursday morning, God's willing. Yes, Angela says, ask him how many ambassadors are in the UN building in New York. So true. There's something in I think, Washington called Embassy Row, where all of the embassies are located in that general area. And it makes sense to have them centralized in that area. You understand? But according to leave it there, rather than have a whole building for yourself, an entire building, it makes sense to have 1 or 2 floors in a building downtown, 1 or 2 floors, instead of you having your whole building for yourself in that area with your own car park and everything. It makes sense. Go downtown, endure the traffic to get 2 or 3 floors. Ay, ay, ay. Roma, Roach Thomas, a great day to you too. Rudy Nicholas. We will chat on Thursday, folks. Let me go and have a drink of water. Yeah. Madness never ends. Thursday. Enjoy the rest of it.